The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSRTV, your home for sim racing.
Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the Phoenix International Raceway for tonight's coverage of the Copper World Classic. And this is a huge race here for the Majors division. It's a very interesting race as well. We've seen many different styles so far in the Majors, but this time we're going short track racing in a car that's not very widely used on the sim racing surface. Good evening, my name is Kelly Dahl. Alongside me tonight is Gary Weaver and Andrew Cardinale, and as always we have Cisco Scaramuza in the production trailer getting you all the awesome shots for you. And Gary, I'd say this is going to be quite the interesting race. I'm not used to watching these cars, and I'm sure a lot of people that are watching here tonight haven't really seen these race either.
I'll step in for Gary for just a moment. But yeah, Kelly, I haven't really seen these cars used anywhere really. My first time really experiencing these cars, heck, I just bought them about 10-20 minutes ago, and I think Gary just timed out. But really cool to see these cars get used.
Yeah, it's almost like a pavement sprint car is what these things are, but they've got actually a little bit of aero on them in this configuration. You'll see the kind of the side pods and a bit of a kind of almost a front splitter here, but we're here now doing some heat racing. This is going to be heat number 1 for tonight. And now lining up on your starting grid, we're going to go through your LSRTV starting grid for heat number 1. Starting on the pole for this heat will be Ashley Howell. Second will go to Daniel Knight. Troy Anderson rolls off in that second row, 3rd position. Terry Wellman will be starting at 4th. 26 of Lonnie Fitch will be rounding out the top 5.
And starting off from the 6th position will be the number 273 of David Wilson Jr. Robert Tarbox follows him up in 7th place in row number 4. Thomas Peterson in 8th in the 956. Donovan Johns joins in row number 5 in 9th place in the 12th car. And Brandon Wentworth will be 10th in the 377.
Carl Burke will be rolling off in that 11th position. Simon Thorns will be rolling off in 12th. 13th, it goes to Mike Golightly. Edward Caranci rolls off in 14th, and Jose Pabon rolls off in 15th.
Caleb Weekly will roll off from the 16th position in the 408. Mark Lewandowski in 17th in the 82. Andy Banfield in 18th in the 6th. Jason McSparron in the 119 in 19th. And Eric Klein will round out your top 20 in 542.
And rounding out the rest of this field for heat number 1 is that 00 of Richard Isley, and Samuel Dowdy will be rolling off in 22nd. So a 22-car field for this first heat race. However, only 9 transfer spots are up for grabs. There was qualifying all throughout the week, and the top 2 qualifiers for the week get an automatic pass into the main event. However, the rest of these drivers are having to race their way in, so 9 spots are up for grabs.
Yeah, and these guys will all be vying for those positions for the first 50, or well, the whole 50 laps of this first heat. And I believe we're coming to the green flag. Only 1 lap to get ready here at Phoenix.
Yeah, all the cars lined up 2 by 2. These engines are ready to roar. There's big engines, very small cars. These things will accelerate. Pace car rolls off as we get ready for the American Ethanol green flag, and Ashley Howell leads off the field, getting a great jump on the inside. Daniel Knight a little bit slow on the outside. However, now launching around that high side on the first turn here, and he's going to get a great run off the corner. A little bit of a wobble from Ashley Howell, and Daniel Knight now getting a great chance for the race lead.
Yeah, and here comes the, I'm still getting caught up, the 22 car. That's Troy Anderson getting into this battle. He's going to wait for an opportunity to take advantage of either the 16 or the 295. You saw the 16 bobble on the bottom side. He loses first place. It's Ashley Howell.
Yeah, And actually, we got a caution right off the bat here. It looks like the 82 of Mark Blendowski, and looks like sounds like a couple other cars getting involved as well. But looks like Blendowski coming off the corner. We're gonna take a look at your LSRTV replay here. As he comes off of turn 4, that car gets a little loose and then just gets tangled up with what looks like the 408 of Caleb Weekly, and that sends that 82 machine hard into the inside wall. And thankfully, these guys do have a faster pair, and he'll be able to really get that car back out on the racetrack. But if it wasn't for that faster pair, that car would be done, as that was a hard impact.
Yeah, and the rest of the field was lucky to get by rather unscathed. It looked like the double O got a little bit of left side damage on that side pod, and I think there was another car that kind of phased through him, just a product of being on a simulator, but really good job by everyone behind him to miss that.
And I think that's something that we may see a few times throughout the night as we go through this race. Is these cars are not made for bumping and banging. These are open wheel cars. They've got a little bit of body work, but those rear wheels are completely exposed, and these things are very loose as well, especially coming off the corners. If you get on that throttle way too early, as I think that was the case with the 82, is he just stomped the throttle off a floor and broke those rear wheels loose. So you got to be gentle, just ease it on the throttle, ease onto the power, or else you're going to get into a situation like that. And he might have been able to save it if he was all on his own, but as he lost that little bit of speed, he just kind of got caught up with the 408 and turned around. And I think that's something we'll see probably a few more times throughout maybe even this heat, and especially something we'll see in the second heat.
Yeah, I mean, Kelly, you and I got just a little bit of a chance to kind of go around the track and get a little bit of practice ourselves, just to be familiar with the conditions these drivers have to work with. And it's definitely, like you said, really loose out of these corners. You have to be really mindful of that throttle, almost act like there's an eggshell underneath.
Yeah, and just getting word here, it looks like 11 cars will transfer, and however, one of the ones that is locked in is Ashley Howell. So Ashley Howell is your top qualifier for the week. Ashley Howell doesn't have to worry about finishing where they can. Ashley can finish wherever they want to in this race. They will be on the front row on the pole for the A main. So we really have to focus on the top 10 or top 11 if Ashley is within the top 10 to see who's going to be in that transfer position. So right now, Michael Lightly is holding on to the last transfer spot in 11th place.
Yeah, and of course, just like the Daytona duels in the NASCAR Cup Series, we're going to be talking about that bubble area a lot tonight, I think, in these first 50 laps of the night. It's going to be interesting to watch as these guys, you know, the laps wind down. They have to start thinking about that. Obviously, it's probably in their minds from the start, but it's going to be even more so in their minds the last 25 of this 50.
And you see drivers that'll be sitting around the 5th spot, like David Wilson at the moment. They probably won't be pushing too hard to get up into the race lead. This does set the grid for the A main, so finishing better in this race will give you a bit of a better start. But you don't want to risk that one extra starting position to maybe if you try to push for that extra spot on the grid, you may be completely bumped off the grid if you wipe out your car and just throw it into the wall. So these guys are getting stacked up once again. Daniel Knight this time will be the one leading them down to the green flag as the pace car gets ready to dive to the safety of pit road. And there goes the pace car at 295 of Daniel Knight, roars off a great jump once again for the 295, and he's probably going to try to get to that middle line before Ashley Howell can try to make the move on the outside, because we've seen multiple times that outside line is a great place to be.
Yeah, and you can see these drivers throughout the field kind of fanning out, trying to get into line. They do so pretty much through the top 5 or so. Ashley Howell following the 295 around the track.
And a big gap already back to that 37 to Terry Wellman, who's still just trying to get himself into position. And look at that 22 of Troy Anderson. Great jump off of the 4th turn, and he's going to get the move to the inside. That pink machine of Troy Anderson making some great moves to move himself up into the 2nd position.
And it looks like we may have lost the 295 actually, so that should vault Ashley Howell right up into the lead. Troy Anderson moving into 2nd place now as he gets by the 37, as you mentioned, with Terry Wellman. And already these guys are pretty much hanging it out there, getting real loose out of 2 and 4. They're doing a pretty good job at hanging on and battling caution in the back.
Looks like it'll be the 6 of Andy Banfield as well as Edward Carency in the 23 machine. We're going to have to get your replay up to see what happened with that, but that was a multiple car pileup. Looks like the that 23 machine just got into the wall on the outside, and from that point, that's where everything went wrong. He threw himself down to the inside and ended up catching the 542 of Eric Klein, who's hard into that outside wall that turns 4. So that car is completely junked. Going to have to use that fast repair, unfortunately, and I'm sure he's not going to be wanting to use that fast repair this early on, especially since he's going to also have to take a tow as well. So that's going to move that 542 machine way into the back of the field.
Yeah, and Kelly, I went back and watched the replay a little bit, and it looked like Samuel Dowdy actually kind of got into the 23, almost sent him a little bit into turns 3 and 4. That put the 23 up into the fence, and just trying to hang on to it. The 23 pretty much was just, you know, in the way, but he couldn't do anything about it. Just trying to hang on to the car, caught up with a couple of others.
Yeah, just an unfortunate situation, catching a few other drivers off guard, but I think he was just trying to get himself off of the wall, and unfortunately once that car got off of the wall, it just snapped towards that inside, and I think it just Eric Klein was kind of just wrong place, wrong time, didn't really have anything to do with that wreck, and he really got the worst of it as that car is still sitting there smoking on pit road.
And Kelly, I'm not sure if it's on the LSRTV screen, but we just had an incident under caution, live incident there. It was, I believe, the 00 of Richard Isley. Is that how you guys were saying his name? I think he was just coming up on the field a little bit too quickly. Sorry, got on the binders and that car just came right around. So, yeah, I'm not sure what went on there, but I think he'll get right back with the field.
I'm looking back at what happened. Looks like the field was checking up, and he ended up braking late, locking that car up. And I did notice this when I was taking this car for a little test drive. You hit the brakes in this thing, it's gonna want to turn left. If you lock up the car at all, that car is just gonna completely spin out to the inside. And I think that's just what happened there. Is we'll take a look at the replay and just give you a quick glance at what happened. It looks like it's just a spin. I don't think he got anyone else, and he barely kept himself off the rear bumper of that car in front of him. But definitely a scary moment, a bit of an embarrassing moment, I'm sure, for that 00 machine, but really no harm done.
Yeah, and you know, he might be a little embarrassed, but that's what happens sometimes. It happens to the best of us. Nothing to be really ashamed of. Just get your head back in the game and go back at it on this restart. I believe we have Gary Weaver back. I'm not sure when you want to bring him in.
Yeah, Gary's still trying to get back with us, but we're still under caution as this pace car decided to keep the lights on this time around. Looks like that Eric Klein is back onto the racetrack. However, he's going to be scored two laps down. I think he's going to be waved. The field's going to be waved by him, so he's going to be 3 laps down. Really going to pretty much kill his chances to get himself back into the A main here. But he is going to stick it out and see what can happen. And Gary, you're kind of missing a bit of the race so far, but what do you think about what to expect here for the rest of this first heat?
Well, this one was already interesting. We had somebody go upside down already, so a few cautions early on as well. I believe 2 cautions, so hopefully everything has all the cautions have been gotten out of the way, and we can get some really exciting and some close racing as well. So lights are finally out on the pace car.
That's right, lights go out on the pace car. We're going to get those cars sort of double file once again, and we do have a time limit on this heat. We are only going to go for 45 minutes, and we will stay with this heat until it is finished. However, heat 2 will roll off at the bottom of the hour, so we will see this race to its completion, and we may miss the start of the second heat, but we will get you guys a picture of the second heat. We may just have to join it in progress, but we can't turn away from this one until it's completely sorted, until we know everyone that's going to be transferring on to the A main. So as the moment, Ashley Howell will be leading the field to the green flag. This is the second time Ashley will have the chance to lead for the green flag, and she's going to have to see what the try to get a better start than they did last time. And they actually kind of found out that that inside line wasn't really the best through turns 1 and 2, but pace car is going to dive down to the safety of pit road. Ashley getting an early jump once again, and that's going to catch Troy Anderson off guard as Terry Wellman's going to try to make a move to the inside.
Terry Wellman, came to the bottom, ended up backing out early into turns 1 and 2, gave Troy Anderson the advantage. Now the 22 will pull away. He's going to try and keep up with Ashley Howell, but those two opening up a gap over 3rd place, Terry Wellman.
Yeah, Terry Wellman just trying to stay in front of this rest of this pack that is forming up. Just one wrong move can put him out of the transfer positions, but he's still trying to keep himself ahead of Lonnie Fitch, who's just barely holding off of that 969 of Robert Tarbox. And there is a huge pack right behind him of two by two as they go side by side. Carl Burke, David Wilson in that front pair, and they are door to door at this moment.
Yeah, Lonnie Fitch kind of running this pack up to the back end of Terry Wellman, if he can, or if she can. I'm not sure about Lonnie, but you see this pack, this is right in front of the bubble pretty much. I think this extends back to around 8th or 9th place, and only 11 move on. I think Ashley Howell is already in, so we got to start watching that that bubble area of drivers from about 9th down to 13th, trying to get into the show later on.
And Ashley's taking full control of this race, and he really doesn't have to worry about placing first. Ashley's going to be starting the first on the pole for the AMA no matter what, but there is a 0.9 second gap over Troy Anderson. We got another caution on the racetrack. Sounds like a big one. We have a lot of cars all over the place. Andy Banfield involved. Mark Blendowski, actually he sneaks through. But there is a lot of cars. Thomas Peterson as well. We're going to get a replay up on the screen, but there was a huge accident.
Yeah, and watching back, I don't want to call anything too sensitive before the replay gets there, but just a couple of cars getting into each other led to a lot more carnage into turn one.
Yeah, just a couple cars getting into each other on the front straight. It looks like Thomas Peterson and Donovan Jones got in, just kind of tapped each other on this front straightaway. And as I've mentioned, these are open wheel machines. Rubbing is not racing in this thing. Rubbing is wrecking. So Gary, what's your take on really what happened in that caution?
I'm still looking at this over and over, and looks like Jones he comes out turn number 4, almost hits the wall, and then, well, I'm not sure what happened. That just seems like a racing deal, but Jones took a completely wild ride under that caution. Yeah,
huge wreck for Donovan Johns, and I think he is still rolling, so he doesn't have to take a tow at the moment. So really a lucky break for him, but hopefully he can just get a quick stop to keep himself on that lead lap, as we're really starting to whittle down some of these cars that are on the lead lap. We've only got 17 left on the lead lap. However, I think everyone is still running because of the fast repairs that we have.
Yeah, I mean, these guys all get their mulligan, and we've seen now 3 incidents where I think every single time with these open wheel cars, you had to come in and get that fast repair, or at least get a bunch of damage fixed in the pits if you didn't. So keeps everybody in the race, but they have to be careful now that they've used one, not to get in anything else.
And now the thing is, who's going to be transferring on? And we know it's the top 10, top 11 if Ashley is within the top 10, because Ashley is already locked in due to qualifying. So right now on that bubble is that 119 of Jason McSparron sitting in 11th place at the moment. So really the cars that are going to have the most nerves on this restart is probably from about 9th to maybe 14th, as these guys know they're right on the cusp of getting in or not making it to this A main. So I would expect to see a lot of those guys be really the ones that push the hardest on this next restart.
Yeah, these drivers are going to be scrambling for every single position that they can get, especially that top 11 like you mentioned, especially as well Jason McSparron. He's going to be having to push as hard as he can to stay above that 11th place. If he is in 11th, well, he can't really relax, because he has he has multiple drivers behind him that want that 11th place position.
And we've seen a couple times that inside line and the middle line is kind of a toss-up between which one's the fastest around the racetrack. But the inside line may be a bit quicker, but we've seen a few times these guys will dip below that yellow line and get that car just a little bit wobbly and out of shape, and that'll kill all of their momentum. So the outside line might be almost the safer bet on the restart, as long as you can get a good run through turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, we've seen time and time again, these guys are kind of gravitating towards the middle line. Seems like that's just where these cars hook up the best, and don't get into the corner too tight or too loose, and don't come out too loose. Seems like that's the preferred line for these guys, and we'll see as they kind of try and vie for that line again on this restart with about 29 to go.
Lights are out on the pace car. Cars get formed up 2 by 2 once again. Ashley Howell will be leading them to the line, as we're probably going to say that a lot more throughout the night, as Ashley will be starting on pole for the race. Troy Anderson to the outside in that pink 22, and I wouldn't expect to see him push too hard, to just because he knows that even if he passes Ashley, he's still going to be starting at best 3rd place in the A main if he were to finish in 2nd in this race. So expect to see the 22 to just try to hold position, not really take the fight to Ashley, and we'll have to see if Ashley's going to jump hard once again as the pace car gets ready to dive down pit road and we're ready to go back racing once again. Pace car down to the safety of pit lane. Ashley just going to hold off for 1 second before jumping on that loud pedal. Look at Terry Wellman getting a great launch. Really read Ashley's move right there, but he's going to brake hard into the turn 1, and we had a huge car get really sideways just behind him, and I think trying to get a look at who that was, but there was a bit of a squirrely moment. I think it was Jose Pavon.
Got multiple drivers, again, just still scrambling for position side by side for about 6th place. It's a 7:05 of Jose Pavon, and while he's going to be beside the 26 now, Lonnie Fitch. Of course, Kyle Burke in that number 53 is also going to be involved in that. It's going to fall back as right now. Looks like that 26 of Fitch is going to get the advantage coming out of turn number 2 and get that 5th place position.
Through turns 3 and 4, Carl Burke trying to get the advantage on the Napa 705 of Jose Pavon. Can't really get up there down the front straightaway, but going to go at him again through turns 1 and 2. Caution out in the back.
Oh, it's Donovan Johns again.
Donovan Johns involved once more in another caution, and that may spell the end of the night for that 12 machine, who is just the last car in the lead lap, and again just getting into another driver on the coming off of 4, just going on to that main straight, and just a light tap from the on the outside from I believe that was Daniel Knight, who was actually multiple laps down after kind of lagging out of the sim a few minutes earlier, and just a hard hit to the inside, going to kind of trap that car against the wall, and unfortunately John's going to have to take a tow, and really it's, I believe that's going to spell the end of his chances to get into the A main, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, really unfortunate. Oh, you're okay, Gary. I almost said Geever. That was weird. But yeah, Donovan Johns, you saw in that first incident, just kind of got into another car, and you know, havoc broke out basically, and this time out of turn 4, the 295 just got a little bit loose, made a little bit of contact, and like you said, Kelly, right into the inside wall, and the front end almost got lodged in that wall, and unfortunately, again, going to end his night. Really sucks to see. It looked like he was just kind of doing his job. He was a little far back of the cutoff line, but working his way forward.
And I think this is going to be a spot we're going to see a lot of incidents throughout the night. I don't know if you got a chance to take the car out for a spin, Gary, but the cars could get very loose and very squirrely coming off of that turn 4 if you just mash the throttle. So I think that's going to be the place we're going to see a lot of incidents.
Yeah, it's all about throttle control as well. And well, the only place I've tested these Silver Crowns was at Charlotte. So unfortunately, I have not yet tested it here, although this is one of my favorite tracks. So maybe someday I will, and probably between the heats I'll get a chance to do that, because I'm pretty sure, again, it's just throttle control, and wherever you are on the racetrack, it just depends on trying to find where the car fits best and where you can get that best momentum without at least getting too loose.
Yeah, it is really a thing about momentum. These cars do have big engines powering a small frame. However, they do only have 2 gears. You've got that first gear just to basically get you started, and then you're going to be running second for most of the time. So you got to keep those RPMs up, really manage your engine RPMs to keep yourself in the power band, because you don't have that use of you have to have really wide second gear, so you're not always in that power band as if you were, say, in a NASCAR Cup car around here sitting in 4th gear. That power band is you're already going to be sitting really in that power band, because it's a very short, the gear is set up to be in that power band. However, in these things, it's so wide that if you're off the throttle coming through the corner, you're going to drop below that optimal kind of point in the torque. So you get back on the throttle, and that thing might bog down on you just a little bit. So a lot of these guys are just going to be trying to see if they can keep the momentum up instead of just trying to go slow in, fast out.
Yeah, and Kelly, I think that's why we're seeing some of the big moves coming out of the corners, where, of course, we have the issue of some of these drivers getting a bit loose, but also some of these cars might bog down at a turn 4, turn 2, and, you know, a car behind them might get a better exit and just go right by somebody like they're standing still on the straightaway.
Quick update on the bubble right now. Caleb Weekly is sitting in 11th position, our last transfer spot. So that 408 machine was able to get around the 119 of Jason McSparron on that last green flag run. And now Caleb Weekly is sitting in that last transfer spot. A good run from him so far. Started in 16th, moved himself all the way up to 11th, but lights out on the pace car once again, and we're going to get ready to go green, and hopefully we'll see if we can get a nice long green flag run this time around.
Yeah, that would be amazing to see, especially with Caleb Weekly. We can see how he's going to perform while he's on the bubble as well. He's been doing pretty well just riding in the back and relaxing as well, best that you can relax at this point. So past the halfway point, and of course, the quicker the laps close, the quicker we'll see these drivers make more moves.
I'm sure we're going to see the most aggressive moves coming shortly here, and especially around that 11th position. But looking back up towards the front, Ashley Howell leads the field once again. Troy Anderson still to the outside. You'll never miss that pink machine on that outside line. As we're going to get ready to see the pace car is going to dive down the safety of pit road. Ashley Howell again jumping the same position. However, not a great jump from the inside from Robert Tarbox, and Troy Anderson is still going to hold on to that second position as we go into turn 1.
A little bit of contact between a couple of drivers as well. That was, I believe, would be actually Caleb Weekly was just involved in that too. So coming out of turn number 2 as well. Single file relatively, except from about that 5th or so place position.
And Caleb Weekly, I think, just moved into one of the transfer spots, considering Ashley Howell is in first place. That moves the final transfer spot to 11th position. Caleb Weekly just moved into it, and just ahead of him, sorry, I lost my place, we've got Brandon Whitworth and Mike Golightly now catching up to Lonnie Fitch to do battle.
Yeah, these guys will still battle just a little bit, probably not going to push as hard as they can, knowing they're in a safe position, but this does set the field for the A main, so a good finish here will set you up for a good start. As we see David Wilson making a move on Terry Wellman, moving himself up into that top 5, and just in front of him, Jose Pabon sitting in 4th place. He started all the way back in 15th, so that 705 machine is absolutely flying out on the racetrack.
Yeah, these cautions helped him out as well. As I'm seeing David Wilson, he's running the middle lane right now, which is quite interesting, a little bit different and from all the lanes that all these other drivers are running right now as well. Maybe he's trying to, maybe he knows something that we don't, or he's just trying to figure out what he can do in turns 3 and 4. Single file relatively for the most part is what I'm seeing around the entire field as well.
We have a move from Thomas Peterson looking for the 12th position to get by. I believe that's Jason McSparron, so he actually could be on his way up. That's the 956. Maybe trying to work his way into a transfer position. He would get the last one out of this heat if he could catch the 408 of Caleb Weekly, and he's making up ground, Kelly.
Yeah, Caleb's just trying to keep himself in that last position, sitting a little bit of a ways back from Brandon Whitworth, who sits 10th, but Caleb's just watching his mirror and seeing that 956 machine. That thing is getting closer. Thomas Peterson on a great run right now, and he knows what's in stake in front of him. He has to get around that one last car to move himself into this final transfer spot for the A main, and if he just doesn't make it, that's it. His night is essentially over. He'll be racing in the B main just to gain a few points, but he's really pushing hard, and he's gaining ground on that 408 machine, now sitting about 4/10ths back and getting even closer every turn.
Yeah, I saw the front of Caleb Weekly's car. He has a little bit of front end damage as well, so that's most likely hindering whatever arrow that he has. 0.2 of a second separates them right now, or at least 0.22 seconds at the start-finish line. A little bit of a slow exit from Caleb Weekly. Here comes Thomas Pearson. He's going to hold off, actually, for that pass. So probably playing a little bit of mind games as well as we close now to 16 laps to go. Thomas Pearson to the inside. Nothing as of yet, though, Andrew.
Yeah, the 956 has just caught Caleb Weekly. Caleb moves down to the inside line into 1, defending that spot, and then the 956 just goes right around. Weekly got a little bit loose, tagged the apron a little bit, but hangs on to that car. He's going to lose another spot, it looks like, to Simon Thorns, but Thomas Peterson into the 11th position. Now he gets to try and chase down Brandon Whitworth, 377.
Yeah, Thomas Peterson takes control of that final transfer spot. 11 move on to the A main. Everyone else just races for points, the remainder of the points in the bottom of the B main. But Thomas Peterson, just some great driving to get around Caleb Weekly, and Caleb just kind of struggling. And he's actually into the wall. Big hit on the wall for Caleb Weekly, and he's going to lose another 2 positions. So some struggling now for that 408 machine.
Hopefully he can get it back together for himself. A battle for 5th place. That's a 273 of David Wilson is on the outside trying to get that 5th place position. The 53 of Carl Burke on the inside. A little bit of a wash up the corner coming out of turn number 2. He's going to fall into 6th place temporarily, lurking right behind them. It's going to be a 37 of Terry Wellman. He's going to back off of this battle just to let these two race it out. But look at David Wilson making that middle line work, and coming off turn 4, it's going to be Wilson at the line. I think Wellman got a little bit loose coming out of turn number 4 as well.
A great catch from Wellman in the 37. He hangs on to it, gets back into it. Now the 53 trying to pull a slider on the 273. Doesn't get him cleared just yet. Was sideways, hanging it all out of turn 2. Now the 273 of David Wilson going to try and keep protecting that top side, but the 53 going to clear him here. Carl Burke up into 5th.
Watch for maybe the crossover from the 273 of David Wilson. He's still got some momentum coming down the front straightaway, but I think it's just not quite enough, and he is going to lose that position to Carl Burke. Some great driving from the two of them. It's a hard-fought battle, but I think this is something that's not quite over yet. Is that 273 of David Wilson still eyeing that 5th position? And just behind them, that 37 of Terry Wellman is also looking to get going here, as we've just got a sort of a midfield pack building that everyone's just trying to shuffle for positions, not wanting to lose any ground and possibly slip all the way back towards the grasp of Thomas Peterson or maybe even Simon Thorns.
I'm looking up front for not really a battle for a second, but a 22 in the 969 of Robert Tarbox Jr. Troy Anderson in that 22 in second. These two have been pretty much running nose to tail right now, this time by 10 laps to go for Ashley Howell. So far he's been pretty dominant. He's kept that lead for now. And of course the green flag run is helping him a lot more for that 2nd place position. However, Anderson slid up the racetrack just a little bit in turns 1 and 2. Tarbox was looking to the inside, didn't take advantage of the pass yet.
Yeah, Tarbox Jr. on the gearbox, the fuel tank, if you will, of the 22 of Troy Anderson. Troy moves up just a little bit out of 4, almost up, opens up the door. The 969 might make a move into 1 this time, and he does, going to make the pass rather easily. He moves into 2nd position. Troy Anderson down to 3rd. Kind of surprising considering these guys are both solidly in at 2nd and 3rd no matter what, and we only have about 10 laps to go.
Yeah, all they're really fighting for right now is that starting position. So now Troy Anderson, if this race were to finish at this moment, he'd be starting in the 3rd row on the inside. So I think Robert Tarbox just kind of saw his opportunity to make a move for that extra starting position, and Troy Anderson just kind of realized, you know what, I'm still in and I'm still safe here at this moment. I don't want to risk getting taken out, and backs off the throttle. And going back towards that transfer spot we were talking about, Thomas Peterson, he's starting to catch up to Lonnie Fitch and Brandon Whitworth, so he might get himself into a better starting position. But Simon Thorns, he's on the outside looking in, about 2 seconds behind them.
Yeah, Fitch was side by side with Whitworth out of turn number 4, just 1 lap ago. Whitworth gets a little bit loose out of turn number 4 on the high side. He does manage to keep it straight though, but that vehicle was noticeably sideways. Thankfully, he does keep it straight and continue on a little bit loose out of turn number 2 as well. Just trying to keep that going at least until the final. Once they cross the start-finish line, Lonnie Fitch is just waiting and trying to at least get away from Thomas Pearson, just to not get the stress out of being on the transfer spot.
Yeah, Lonnie Fitch was just headed in the wrong direction, just went back behind the 377, but now you see Brandon Whitworth maybe roasting the right rear a little bit, getting it a little too hot for this slick track here in Phoenix, and he's pretty sideways out of each and every corner every single time, Kelly, but he's hanging on pretty good.
He's probably cooked those tires at the moment, as the racetrack is kind of relative for a Phoenix day is not that hot, 82 degrees Fahrenheit on the racing surface. So these guys do have maybe a bit of grip, more grip than they could have expected, but there's a lack of grip right now in that 377 machine, and he has been fighting that car, and every time he wobbles that thing, it's just making it worse and worse. But it looks like he may have it under control for now, and he just has to hold off for another 4 laps at the moment. And it looks like we actually have a car on the inside there, and that's actually going to bring out a caution. Richard Isley is going to be
no.
He gets into someone as well. Jason
McSparron in the 119. He does keep it going, though, surprisingly. So great job by Jason to keep that going.
Gonna get a replay for you at the moment, but it looks like that 00 machine just going into turn 3 caught the outside wall, and we've seen this before, just trying to throw that thing, get that thing off the wall, cranks the wheel over, and the second it releases you from the wall, that just spins the car to the inside. And the service was not about to throw the caution. It was going to keep the race green, but as he was trying to spin that thing back around, he slid back up onto the racing surface, and that is what brought out the caution. And unfortunately, when he was trying to get himself back going, just kind of clipped Jason McSparron. That was a huge slide from that 119 machine, and he really drifted that car, and just a great catch from him and to keep that car pointed in the right direction.
Yeah, a heck of a save out of McSparron to keep from, maybe hitting the pit wall or worse. Anything could have happened right there, and he did a great job to hang on to the car. Not looking like he may advance. He might have a chance on this caution. We might go back green, so all hope is not lost for the 119, but that's certainly going to hinder his chances, and you called it perfectly, Kelly. Just saw the 00 get into the wall a little bit in turn 3, and trying to pull it off the wall, just spun out into the grass.
Yeah, lights are still on the pace car, so this race might not get back underway. I think we may be finished for the first heat, and that would mean Thomas Peterson would be our last person moving on to the A main. Unfortunately, Simon Thorns, the caution just came just a little bit too late, and I'm sure Simon would have hoped that the caution maybe came out 1 or 2 laps earlier so we could get back under green, because he was sitting 2 seconds back from Thomas Peterson, but he was keeping a good, steady pace, and I think that caution was something he wanted to see, so he could just have that last gasp and last shot to take the position. But unfortunately, the caution just didn't quite fall into his favor, and I think he's going to be the first man into the B main.
Yeah, as unfortunate as for Simon Thorns, Ashley Howell is definitely going to be relieved right now, as the caution came out with about 3 laps remaining. So right now, we're heading down for the final lap, the white flag for that number 16. And Thomas Peterson can finally breathe a sigh of relief as well.
And I think this is going to be something that we're going to have to talk about going towards the A main, is the pace of Ashley Howell. That 16 machine was absolutely flying around the racetrack. I think the gap at one point was about 5 seconds back to second place, and Ashley has been absolutely just a rocket around this racetrack, and we'll have to see if Ashley's going to be able to keep up that pace as we go towards the A main.
Yeah, I mean, with all pole sitters in racing, it's going to be interesting to see if they just, or if, in this case, Ashley just fires right off the bat, takes the lead and hangs on to it. I mean, did just that in this race, a commanding win here in the first heat from Ashley Howell.
Yeah, unfortunately, the only person that really challenged Ashley Howell, Daniel Knight, ended up just having a bit of a problem with his sim and ended up being thrown all the way back into 21st position. So they will not be able to move on. So Ashley Howell is going to come to lead the field down at pace speed to take the checkered flag and win heat number 1. And we're going to do a quick rundown of your field. So Ashley Howell wins the first heat. Ashley will be moving on. Ashley will be starting pole for the A main. Robert Tarbox Jr. in the 969 machine, he brings it home in second. Troy Anderson finishes in third. That 705 of Jose Pavon, I think our biggest mover, from 15th all the way up into 4th. And Carl Burke will round out the top 5.
Finishing in 6th will be David Wilson Jr. Might go lightly, finishes 7th. 8th, Terry Woman. 9th, Brendan Whitworth. And 10th, Lonnie Fitch.
Thomas Peterson made a great late race rally to make it into the field. He'll move on in the 11th transfer spot, really 10th, but Ashley Howell is already locked in. Unfortunately, the first of the drivers to be cut and sent to the B main will be Simon Thorns in 11th. Caleb Weekly comes home in 13th in the 408. Jason McSparron in 14th in the 119, and Mark Blendowski in the 82 and 15th.
Rounding out the rest of the field to be 16th goes to Samuel Dowdy. Andy Banfield will be the first car 1 lap down in 17th. Richard Isley finishes in 18th. Edward Carency comes home in 19th. Rounding out the top 20 is Eric Klein. Daniel Knight finishes 21st, and 22nd goes to Donovan John. So we're going to take a quick break as we switch over to heat number 2, which should already be underway. So we're going to try to get back to you as soon as we can so you can watch the rest of that. But don't go anywhere. You are watching the Copper World Classic for the Pacific Majors on LSRTV.
actually, really enjoy dirt racing. Feels good to get in the car, and we have, great cars and engines and things at KKR, so it's nice to drive a fast sprint car.
Couple of separate lines developing, three wide action on a turn two. Craig Kinzer, Casey Kane, and Garrett Pittman going at it.
I think the differences between, NASCAR and the sprint races on dirt is just a much different mindset. The way you drive your cars, the setup, the feel you're looking for. I think one of the hardest things to tell as a fan is when you're watching a race, whether it's a NASCAR race, a dirt race, is just what's really going on in the car. With iRacing, you can get the way that the track's changing, which they've done a great job in how the track changes throughout the night or throughout the race, just to try to capture it and let the fans play it and realize, like, man, there's actually a lot going on, and you can't always see that when you watch a race. So I think it's pretty neat. It's, enjoyable for me, but at the end of the day, it's actually much of a simulation, and there's a lot of ways that you can learn from that. And, early on, it was neat to look at the Cup tracks that I was going to, places that I had never been. So I think it kind of gives you a head start leading into a weekend. It's pretty real life, and that's pretty neat.
Welcome back to coverage of the Copper World Classic for the Atlantic Major Series, brought to you by Lion Tamer Beer Care. Check them out on Facebook and Twitter at Lion Tamer Beard. Kelly Dahl along here with you. Alongside me, actually, is Gary Weaver and Andrew Cardinal. And as always, Cisco Scaramuza getting you all the shots as we join heat number 2 already in progress. Currently under caution at the moment, but Mike Kelly leads the field over Josh Tanner. So he's going to be sitting pretty in that lead position, but Todd Labronte, he's the pole sitter for this heat, and he is already locked into that A main. As mentioned, 10 drivers advance as well as the driver that is locked in. So he's currently sitting in that last transfer position in 11th. Actually, is Craig Hawkins. However, he is coming down pit road, so he's unfortunately going to get bumped out of that transfer spot as he has to repair that damage from the huge accident we had just before we came back live. So I think that new position is going to go to the 658 of Jason Wallet.
Really, really unfortunate for all these drivers. And right now we're going to have through-year field. Mike Kelly, Josh Tanner, Todd Labronte, Eddie Hawks, and Randy Ludwig are your top 5 as of right now. Josh Tanner within that, 5 positions up from when he started.
And sitting in 6th at the moment is the 60 of Rick Scott. Edward Delighter, is sitting in 7th. Aaron Brown in 8th. 9th is Riley Thompson, and Terry Halleck sits in 10th at the moment.
Just outside the top 10 is Jason Wallet in the 658. Jamie Kingsland follows him up in the 622 in 12th position. Craig Hawkins in 13th. Layla Wilson in 14th. Rory Collins wraps up your top 15 in the number 35 car.
16th at the moment is the 42 of James Dowan. Joshua Kanata sits in 17th. He's our first car to be multiple laps down. Chuck Chambliss sits in 18th. However, I think he is dropping a bit further back. He's currently sitting in the pits. Yeah, he just did drop back. So 18th is Steve Costley. Jonathan Diggs sits 19th. Chuck Chambliss in 20th. Mark Day in 21st. 22nd, Robert Waddell. And Tom Stanley rounds out this 23-car field. Lights out on the pace car as Mike Kelly leads the field, as now they're getting double file once more.
It's going to be interesting to see how these drivers in this heat are going to be racing as well. We may see the same thing, actually. So Kelly in the 3 on the high side, Tanner in that number 84 on the high side. The low side is going to be Kelly, so got my drivers mixed up, but we will be going back racing in just a few moments. Halfway is closing in.
Yeah, just about halfway through this 50-lap heat, pace car dives down pit road, and Mike Kelly gets a great jump off the line, and he's going to roar off into the lead as Josh Tanner just trying to see if he can hold on to that second place. Todd Labronte and Eddie Hawks door to door, nearly colliding with each other going through turn 1, and that 43 machine is going to go way up the hill and nearly lost another position to Rick Scott, who's just trying to see if he can get himself even further up into the top 5.
It's almost like deja vu. Kelly seeing a pink car up in the front. Todd Labronte hanging on to 3rd position pretty decently, just ahead of Eddie Hawks, and they're going to do battle behind him.
Yeah, Randy Ludwig actually is trying to hold off Edward Delighter in the 7th position as the battle for, actually a bit of loose almost looked like for that 47 machine coming off turn 2 as that back end really looked like it wanted to step out. He's just really going to have to try to see if he can save this car as we're nearly halfway through this race.
Number 21 of Terry Halleck is now in that transfer spot, as Jason Watt got shoved down to 13th as of right now, but knocking on that 11th position, there's going to be a 35 of Roy Collins taking the middle lane heading into turns 1 and 2. He's going to get the run coming out of it. To the outside goes that number 35 of Collins. Just trying to defend at the moment. It's going to be Halleck. Through turns 3 and 4, Wallet just watching as this happens right now. He's going to have to do something to get back up, and he's going to take advantage. No, he's not. In the transfer spot now is Rory Collins.
And we saw a lot in the previous heat. Heat number 1, that the top side was actually the better line to defend with. And you saw it right there. The 35 actually wasn't defending, but went on the offensive on the top line and went right on by Terry Halleck. He'll fall back to 12th spot. Now outside of a transfer spot, Rory Collins takes over that final transfer spot.
Yeah, but someone who's got a bit of momentum is that 42 of James Dowan. He's now going to make a move to the inside of Halleck for that 12th place. Still going to be on the outside of the transfer position, but if he keeps up this momentum, he might be able to chase down Rory Collins, who's sitting just 1 second ahead of him. But now Collins might be actually getting himself into a bit of a battle as he catches up to Layla Wilson, she's trying to get around Aaron Brown in that 346 machine, as they're really packed up here at the tail end of the top 10.
Yeah, everyone is already just waiting in line right now. I don't think they want to make any sort of moves. Well, right when I say that, guess who just decided to make a move? Aaron Brown loses a bit of momentum, and I think the 747 of Randy Ludwig is missing the front end, or that's just me, but Aaron Brown on the high side making a move for that 8th place position. As well, now Collins, doesn't have to worry. Layla had to check up there. Luckily she does manage to stay off the back bumper of Ludwig there, and well, the only driver that can actually relax here is Labronte, as he's locked in on speed.
And the good news for Wilson is she is still in a transfer spot for now, even though she had that big checkup right behind the 747, who is missing that front bumper, if you will, on his Silver Crown car. That's going to move the 35 of Rory Collins through a couple more positions. He would now, I believe, be on the outside of row number 8 or so, row number 9, I think, actually. So that puts him in a better spot.
And Layla Wilson is all over the rear fuel tank of Randy Ludwig, trying to see if she can find a gap, as Ludwig is running a bit slower. As mentioned, he's missing that front end, so he doesn't quite have that little bit of front downforce that the little front clip would give you. And now Layla Wilson's going to make a move to the inside. Randy just kind of backing out and seeing if he can maybe make a charge off the high side, but he has to back out of the throttle, as I think he may have almost lost that control of that machine, and he's now sitting on that last transfer spot. Here comes James Dowan, as mentioned, had a bit of momentum earlier on. He's now on that rear bumper of Randy Ludwig, trying to get himself into the final transfer position.
James Dowan had a lot of momentum. He shot it from basically out of nowhere, and he can just make this easy pass on the high side if he can just get the right momentum, and he looks like he does. He's looking to the outside, still can't quite get that run out turn number 4 just yet. But actually a little bit of a battle for what appears to be 7th place. It's between Aaron Brown and the 35 of Roy Collins. Almost a little bit of contact as well. Brown is going to move up to that 7th place position right now, and still trying to figure out some way back in. It's going to be Ludwig, but also that just another driver that just caught up. But they are at least 1 or more laps down. This is 97. He's 2 laps down, but he's riding on the back of James Dowan nonetheless. He could shake this out just a little bit.
And one thing I'm noticing, since we brought up the battle with Layla Wilson, Rory Collins, and Aaron Brown, is Aaron Brown is really leaning on that apron through turns 3 and 4. And normally you might see Cup cars go down there, get the left sides on that yellow line, and get a little bit of grip. But it's really surprising to me to see a Silver Crown down there trying to find some grip, because we know from heat number 1 just how loose these cars are, as the 47 looks to the bottom side of the 346. But it's really interesting to me to see Brown using that apron out of turn 4.
And we saw Ashley try it actually a couple times in the first few laps, and it just didn't work out at all. It was just throwing that car all off balance. So yeah, it is surprising seeing Aaron Brown try it out, but I guess he's just doing a little bit of experimenting since he's in that transfer position right now and doesn't have to worry about getting bumped at the moment. So just maybe seeing what he can maybe try to pull out for the A main, or see if he's got maybe a trick up his sleeve, but it's just not quite working out for him. But and we just saw the 97 of Joshua Kanata as well back there. He is multiple laps down, but in turns 1 and 2, he just tried that move as well, just getting the tires below the yellow line, and that actually did help him there. So his car might be set up to help him do that, but unfortunately he's multiple laps down and not quite able to get himself into the transfer spot.
Yeah, and James Dowan actually did also back off, so he decided to let that number 97 go as also, so Randy Ludwig can for now relax, but I don't think there's not enough time for him to relax right now. But unless he can actually get by Aaron Brown, Aaron's been losing a little bit of momentum with this experimenting. Only 14 laps to go for these drivers, a little bit loose out of turn number 4 as well. Down to the low side, the pass is going to be Dowan, and the 97 lets him by.
And the thing worrying me for the 747 right now is he's struggling to hang on to that transfer spot just ahead of James Dowan. Is you know, the very little bit of downforce that you might get from that front body panel, piece of body, whatever you want to call it. is gone. It's compromised. So whatever little bit of aero help you might have is gone for that 747. He's just trying to hang on. He's starting to get a little bit loose, guys. So he could see something happen here with the 747. Randy Ludwig, sorry if I can get that out, might lose this transfer spot.
James Dowan, though, just has to get himself back into a groove. You'll see him for a couple laps just really close up the back bumper of that 747 machine, but then just kind of almost seems like he fakes himself out and just can't quite get the move to make. Oh, here he goes actually to the inside now, heading towards turn number 1. He is going to get to the inside of Randy Ludwig, and this is the battle for the transfer position. The winner of this battle gets to move on to the A main, and they are completely even up going through the dog leg, and it looks like James Dowan is going to win out at the moment. So James Dowan moves up into that final transfer position.
James Dowan had that perfect opportunity, and right when you said that too, he got a great run coming out turn number 4 and almost getting contact out turn number 4. There's Ludwig and Kanata, but luckily they do not make any contact, or at least any more than necessary, and Ludwig is going to slide up a little bit extra momentum they needed heading into the corner. But that is not past 4 position for Ludwig in that 97 as well. So Ludwig, in a way, he can relax, but he can't, because now he is outside that transfer position. Into the wall coming out turn number 4. It's Edward DeLitter on that 47. Aaron Brown got a piece of that as well. They're still driving forward. 10 laps to go this time around. So now on the call position, it's going to be that 47.
And if DeLeader keeps having these issues, we could see Randy Ludwig come right back into this battle. Behind him, I believe, is Jason Wallet, possibly having a shot to transfer on. That puts the 47 into the final transfer spot. Here comes the 747, trying to get back into it. Behind him, again, is the 658 of Jason Wallet.
We got to keep an eye on that 47 machine, as that thing has been appearing very loose to the corners, and looked like, and the 747 of Randy Ludwig took a look on his outside. And we are going to have a battle now for this last transfer spot, as Edward DeLeiter is struggling to hold on to that machine. That's losing him a lot of speed and a lot of momentum. And Randy Ludwig and Jason Wallet, they are sharks tasting blood in the water as they're watching that other car just slide all over the racetrack in front of them. But it looks like Ludwig might have just overcooked it off the corner and lost a bit of speed. Now Wallet's on the high side, trying to see if he can maybe take a shot at the 47.
He's made his way around Ludwig, so all he has to do is catch up to DeLeiter. But of course, Dowan is also maybe at least on the receiving end of that slight burst of momentum that Edward could possibly have right now. Lap time, I'm looking at the lap times for all of these drivers, and well, never mind, I should probably wait, because Edward was looking to the inside, didn't have any momentum though. So again, it's just that arrow, that damage playing into some type of effect and hindering whatever momentum he had. But luckily lap times are basically equal across the 42, the 47, and the 658.
And as we watch this battle, just want to mention Mike Kelly, Josh Hanner, and Todd Lebroni still our top 3. But yeah, Jason Wallet trying to get into this battle. He's right on the fuel tank of DeLeiter, trying to work on something. The 47, you can see, so loose out of each and every corner, but hanging on to it, doing a great job of just trying to do his job right now and move on to the feature.
Yeah, that 47 machine, there is some crazy wheel work happening. Just watch this thing come off of turn 4. Look at that thing just wobble around just a little bit. He was definitely a lot more stable than he was last time around, but that car is just a handful. It looks like he gets a little bit of wobble again going into turn 1, and that's actually going to play out towards Wallet, as we got 5 to go, and I think Wallet's just going to have the momentum and eventually just make this pass, as they are going to go even up side by side into 4. Or to 3 and 4, and Wallace is trying to see if he can make a move to the high side. Edward DeLeiter getting actually a good job. Oh no, there he goes again, sliding off of 4 and losing that rear end, and that is going to lose that last transfer spot. So move that 658 machine into the last A main transfer position.
How great would it be for Wallet to get into this transfer position knowing that he can actually relax right now? Well, maybe not, again, diving down with that momentum, but then losing it. It's going to be the 47 DeLeiter. He's trying everything that he can to get some kind of momentum. He gets great entry momentum. I see that time just completely close up. He does it again. You can see the distance close up, but he just can't keep it going throughout the entire corner.
And those few miles an hour are going to likely be what costs Delighter a position in the 200 lap feature if he can't get back by Jason Wallet. Again, just 2 laps to go now. Made one slight mistake, got a little too sideways, just lost a couple miles an hour, and that was the difference that let Jason Wallet go by. That little mistake with these cars, these little cars around here, so much horsepower packed into such a small frame, that little bit is the difference.
White flag in the air, though, for Mike Kelly, and he has got a commanding lead over Todd Labronte. 4 seconds at the line that time around, and Labronte just kind of cruising. He's the guy that's going to be locked into that front row outside, and we're going to take a quick look back again at that the battle for the last transfer position. It is the last chance that Delighter can have to make a move on Wallet, and he's been close, but I don't know if he's going to be able to have the grip to stick it, as Mike Kelly now going to finish off this race, but the race is still going on for this last transfer spot.
Well, it doesn't seem like that now, as I believe the 47 has decided himself to call it off and just back off and accept the fact that he couldn't make it in. Jason Wallet makes it in to the final transfer position.
Mike Kelly wins the heat. He will be starting in the second row, not the first row on the outside. Todd Labronte is locked into that position due to qualifying time, so Mike Kelly will be starting the second row, 4th place in the A main, and we're going to take a quick run down through your race, or through the field and the final finishing positions in the second heat. So Mike Kelly wins the heat. Todd Labronte comes second. Josh Tanner, he is able to bring it home in 3rd. Eddie Hawks coming home in 4th. It's a great move from Rick Scott, goes from 12th up to 5th.
6th is going to be coming home to Rory Collins. Riley Thompson finishes in 7th, 8th Lila Wilson, 9th Aaron Brown, 10 positions up from where he started, 19th, and as definitely an amazing performance by him. James Dowen finishes 10th in the number 42, rounding out your top 10.
And Jason Wallet makes a great pass on by Edward Leiter, secures that final spot to get into the show, and unfortunately it does mean Edward Leiter going to go home. He ends up finishing in 12th in the 47. Randy Ludwig, we saw him with a bunch of front end damage. He finishes 13th. Jamie Kingsland, in 14th, and Terry Halleck in 15th.
16th, our first car to be 1 lap down will be the 25 of Craig Hawkins. Joshua Kanata having some great speed at the end, but unfortunately some early problems put him 2 laps down. He'll be finishing in 17th. 18th goes to Steve Cosley. Jonathan Diggs, 19th. Chuck Chambliss will come home in 20th. 21st to Mark Day. Robert Waddell will be finishing in 22nd, and rounding out our 23-car field for the second heat will be Tom Stanley. So that is the finishing position of the second heat. We now have our field for the A main, and just after the break, we will bring you to the start of the A main of the Copper World Classic for the Atlantic Major Series right here on LSRTV.
When I was 16 years old, I was working in a Goodyear tire store, and my boss actually built an old dirt car, street stock Monte Carlo. Went with him one night, fell in love with it. It was a hell of a race, hell of a party, and a big fight afterwards. I was like, this is it. This is it for me. It wasn't long after that, I was driving an old 78 Camaro out of the weeds at that guy's farm. We pulled that thing out and made a race car out of it, and away we went. You know, I think a driver has more to do with the equation going back and racing dirt, whether it's a modified, a late model. You can do more with the race car. You know, the harder you drive it, a lot of times, the better it goes. You can crawl up on that wheel and feel like you made the difference at the end of the night. Asphalt car, you can't overdrive them. That was the first thing that I had to learn right off the bat is, oh my gosh, I've got to discipline myself, not overdrive this thing, and that's how you get the most out of it. Truth be told, communicating the right information to your crew and your crew chief so they can do their job and make their appropriate adjustments for you to go faster and do your job is probably 90% of the game in our world. I've always loved late models. You know, my dream was to be a late model driver driving for a living across the country like Daryl and Don do that drive for me. I mean, that was, truth be told, that was my dream, you know. I always wanted a semi. I always wanted a stacker trailer with 2 hot rods in it and let's go racing. Let's take off with your buddies and go race and chase that dream. Never in a million years did I think it would turn into a Cup Series, and I actually have an opportunity to own 2 you know, dirt late model teams. When you think of iRacing, you don't think of a video game. It's not. It's way above and beyond any of that. You know, dirt racing changes so much. The track changes so much. Being able to capture that, to, you know, experience all those details that surround dirt racing and make dirt racing what it is what makes iRacing so cool, because they did nail all of that. I knew when they came to our shop and scanned cars and went to the detail of getting that car right, I knew that it was going to be over the top, because it blew my mind just the work that went into making sure the car itself was legit. This sport has been around a long time. The competition can't be replaced, and that's what brings people back to the racetrack week in and week out.
It was more than impressive, I have to say. I mean, the track is identical to the real track. I was blown away how realistic it is. Every little bump, every little spray paint, everything is exactly like you were there at the track. It was a great experience. This is a warm-up lap now. Tires to get warmed up. The engine. Breathe a little bit here when you go through that little bump there. And then it's flat pretty much all the way through here, just about. Hard braking. This is the slowest part of the track. And then I've done, you know, I did many races in Formula 3, Formula 2. And then I did the very last race they did there in Group C in 1983 in the 956 Porsche. That's when Beloff got the lap record at the 6:11. I think I was second on the grid with the 6:14 or something, which was, I mean, those cars were awesome around there, of course, like any car is, you know, that speed. And this is the corner of all corners here, the Schwerenkreuz. Flat all the way into it. And then trail brake all the way into the apex here. And then hard at it again to get good speed down the hill here. Mega fast down this hill here. Just jump from one apex to the next. Gotta be super precise here. I mean, it's almost exactly like the real thing. So, I mean, it is certainly realistic enough to get past the very, you know, a lot of the initial hurdles you have when you try to learn to drive a race car, you know. So, I mean, I think it's an excellent tool to learn how to race for sure, or learn to drive a car on a racetrack.
Welcome back to the Atlantic Majors Copper World Classic on LSRTV, brought to you by Lion Tamer Beard Care. Check them out on Facebook and Twitter at Facebook or Twitter.com/LionTamerBeard. Kelly Dahl here with you. Alongside me is Gary Weaver and Andrew Cardinal, and as always, Cisco Scaramuza getting you the shots and the action. We are now ready to go to the A main after watching the heats 1 and 2. So we have a complete field set, and I think this race is actually going to be very exciting, as we saw a lot of action through those first 2 heats, Gary.
Yeah, those first 2 heats provide a lot of action, and of course some things we may be able to in a way look forward to, but not really, but look out for at least, would be the cars getting loose out of turns 2 and 4, probably even in the middle of the corner if most of those, some of these drivers take that turn 3 and 4 apron just a little bit too much.
Yeah, and the time has now ticked down at the end of this little practice session to warm up for the race. So now we are going to take a look at your starting grid, brought to you by LSRTV. And we have got ourselves on the front row, as mentioned, the top qualifiers from the previous week got a pass into the A main. So Ashley Howell and Todd Labronte, those 2 were your top qualifiers throughout the week. They automatically locked themselves into the front row. They never had to really fight for much on the heat races. However, they both had commanding races, or great races in the heats. Mike Kelly will be rolling off in 3rd. Robert Tarbox Jr. will be rolling off 4th. Josh Tanner will be sitting in 5th. Troy Anderson starts in 6th. 7th goes to Eddie Hawks. Jose Pabon starts in 8th. 9th goes to Carl Burt, and rounding out the top 10 is Rick Scott.
11th is going to be David Wilson Jr. 12th is going to be Roy Collins. 13th has Riley Thompson. Michael Lightly starts in 14th, and 15th goes to Layla Wilson.
In 16th position, we'll have Terry Wellman in the 37. Brendan Whitworth raced his way in a 3.77 into 17th spot for the start of this race. Aaron Brown in 18th, James Doan in 19th, and Lonnie Finch in 20th. Oh, sorry, that will be Thomas Peterson in 21st, Jason Wallet in 22nd. Those guys were the last 2 drivers to transfer out of each heat. Thomas Peterson from Heat 1, Jason Wallet from Heat 2. Great passes at the end by both of those drivers.
And a quick mention to be made for Todd Labronte, and I think that is also Troy Anderson as well. Those 2 drivers, you're going to see them in that Hawk pink car. They're running basically modern versions of the famous Pink Lady sprint car driven by Davey Hamilton, as well as a few other drivers. So just a bit of a side note is the reason why you got those 2 hot pink cars, and they're definitely eye-catching cars. So something definitely to keep an eye on. Just a great little story behind them. But Ashley Howell currently leading this field around through turns 3, and watch for Ashley to just jump out to an early lead. Ashley, he was running just a fantastic race in Heat 1. I think led the whole thing by about 5 seconds. So pace car going to come down pit road, and we are going to get ready to go underway. 200 laps for the Copper World Classic. Ashley Howell jumps out in front. The green flag flies, and we are underway.
200 miles here at Phoenix Raceway. Only side-by-side, at least for Troy Anderson. He's going to be stuck on the high side right now. On his inside, it's going to be that number 43 of Eddie Hawks, at least as of right now, it seems. And right now, Anderson is not going to get clear, and everyone else side-by-side just right behind them as well. Battle for about that 7th or 8th place position between the 705 and the 53.
Great battles all the way through the field, through lap number 1. Now on to lap number 2. Ashley Howell still your leader, but had a bit of a bobble out of turn number 3 and 4. And that means Todd Labronte is right on his back end. Into turn 3, Mike Kelly is there as well.
Yeah, Ashley Howell not taking it off to an early lead just this time around. Todd Labronte still keeping up the pressure, and Mike Kelly just kind of tagging along, just kind of filling up that rear view mirror, letting them know that he's still involved in this little battle. And Labronte got right up to the bumper of Ashley Howell, so definitely some early pressure being put on by that 969 hot pink machine.
Looking at a battle in the back right now, and that sorted itself out. Riley Thompson has fallen back a couple of positions, and that's in this last lap. Right now, Layla Wilson has finally managed to make her way up to that 14th place position. Doing an amazing job so far. Right behind them is going to be the number 42 of James Delwin. We saw him, he's going to pass 2 cars in basically 1 corner, or 2 corners if you will. We did see how he performed in the heats, and he did manage again to get that transfer spot at the correct moment, or at least into the transfer positions. So right now he is starting to slowly make his way up through the field as best that he can.
The 42, James Dillon, right on the fuel tank of the 283 of Riley Thompson. You mentioned him just a moment ago, Gary. These guys are having a pretty good battle here at the start. And, you know, obviously, all these guys had to race their way in or qualify in the case of Ashley Howell and Todd Lebrani. But I think James Dillon was one of the best at just racing through the field.
Oh, wait a minute. Car on the wall turns 3 and 4. Not sure who that was. I think that was a 60 of Rick Scott.
Yeah, that car is heavily damaged. I think it's crabbing. We are going to stay green, though, as Rick Scott is going to be able to bring that thing down to pit road. And these guys do have one faster pair, but it's going to be difficult for that 60 machine to get into their pit stall. He is heavily damaged, but going to take a quick look at the replay, see what happened there. But unfortunately as well, we're going to actually have a battle for the second place. Mike Kelly's going to drop to the inside in turn 1. He's going to try to go to the inside of Todd Labronte. So a great move by Mike Kelly. He's actually going to get clear of Labronte before they even get out of turn 2. So a good move from that number 3 machine. He'll take control of that second place.
And from what happened to Rick Scott, he got into the wall just coming out of the dog leg a little bit too much, and then just ended up getting onto the safety barrier, rode on the wall, and thankfully for him, it didn't end up a lot worse. But that battle for second place is starting to heat up right now, as Kelly is sitting in second. Right behind him it's going to be Labronte. So Labronte's going to be waiting for his chance, no doubt, to get back in that second place position from where he started. And well, for about 4th place, it seems like Eddie Hawks, 5th place I should say, is slowly going to, looks like he's going to get passed by Tarbox. At least Tarbox is just right now sitting right there. 2 other drivers behind there, Troy Anderson and Carl Burke as well, and just a line of 4 drivers, 4 Silver Crowns. So it is a little bit early on to be making unnecessary moves, or at least aggressive moves, or moves altogether. So we may be seeing very few passes here and there throughout the course of this race, or at least the first half.
Yeah, it's a great point, Gary. This is only lap 9, now coming to lap 10 of 200, and you can see the action that's already happened in these first 10 miles, actually 9 miles as we get to lap 10. More on the Rick Scott situation. He has fallen to 2 laps now trying to get service to that car, and that means he joins Aaron Brown as the only other driver a lap down. Aaron Brown missed the start. That's why the 346 is already a lap behind.
Yeah, it's a bit of an unfortunate situation for the 346, but going back to this battle for 5th place, really, and maybe even just a battle for 6th, is Troy Anderson now putting a bit of pressure onto Robert Tarbox and going through turns 1. We'll have to see what line he's going to take. I like to take a bit of a higher line. We've seen that multiple times. Some drivers are going to get right down to that yellow line, even dipping underneath of it. And some of them are just staying about maybe 1 lane up, kind of going through the middle, using that banking just a little bit to keep up the momentum. As mentioned, yes, these cars have big engines and small frames, but just the way the gearing is, you're not going to get as much acceleration out of the corner as you would kind of really expect. So a really big thing in these cars is to keep up with that momentum, and that's what Troy Anderson's doing, is he's now actually putting some good pressure onto Robert Tarbox.
Anderson had a great run coming out of turn number 2. He's going to get that run, and well, he's going to try and look to the inside. He couldn't get it done though. He had some great momentum, but Tarbox took that high side, and actually I think that helped him out just a little bit more than it helped out Anderson. Yes, it did. About 1/10 faster was Tarbox that time around, but Anderson is still sticking around in that 22.
Yeah, Anderson right on the fuel tank pretty much of the 21 car, but that's going to bring in the 53 now of Carl Burke. He has not gone anywhere. Now he's going to try and go on the offensive on the back end of the 22. Further back behind these guys, Jose Pabon, we saw him do great things in heat number 1. He's under fire from David Wilson Jr.
Yeah, David Wilson Jr. is trying to see if he can try to find a way around that 705 machine, but there's nothing quite yet. Just can't quite get the momentum. Everyone's just kind of seeing really kind of feeling each other out, taking it really easy is this is a very long race. This is 200 laps, and currently we're only going on to lap 15 here. So these guys are just trying to take the positions as they come. David Wilson had a bit of a run there. Could have made a move on Jose if he wanted to, but decided to back out. And it's a bit surprising considering he's also got that pressure from that 77 machine of Mike Golightly. And Golightly actually looks like he's going to try to make a move to the inside, and he is, but he's not going to be able to get the door kind of shut on him by David Wilson there.
I was trying to see a pattern here, at least with turns 3, or at least with the entry of turn 3 that some of these drivers were taking. Because they enter, it seems, just a little bit low and battle for second place. It's going to be between Mike Kelly and Todd Labronte. Kelly's trying to stick around on the low side, doing his best that he can, but Labronte battling back on the outside, getting that run off turn 4. Labronte has at the start-finish line. Kelly manages to at least stick with Labronte for now.
Yeah, Mike Kelly right out of the bat had a great pass on Labronte. Now he falls back into third position. Labronte takes over second. The 969 looking pretty good right now, but he's not in the clear just yet. Mike Kelly hanging right with him. And I think these two are going to be battling for quite a while, at least until we get a first caution.
I'm sure these guys are going to be battling even past the first caution. I'm sure these guys are going to be battling for pretty much throughout the race. However, every time they go back and forth, Ashley just pulls a little bit further ahead. And that 16, oh, we've actually got a car in the grass, I just noticed. Aaron Brown with some big troubles. That car has got some damage on it as well, as he is crabbing. So some big problems for that machine. It looks like he tagged the outs. Looking back, looks like he tagged the wall in 1 and 2, just trying to give room for cars on the lead lap. But that 346 machine has got a very messed up car.
Yeah, it's terrible, terrible luck for Aaron Brown. He rides up on the safer barrier as well. Rode up on the safer barrier, I should say. And he does keep it off the track, thankfully, and right now all the way in pit road, and like you said, heavy damage. So that's pretty much his second driver that, oh no, and he just flipped upside down on pit road, and that's his race done. That's how bad that his car was handling. Yeah, he's just decided to call it quits as of right now as well.
As that happened, though, I think Ashley Howell had to react a little bit, because Ashley Howell now has lost quite a bit of his lead to Todd Labronte, caution out in the back.
Oh, looks like a big wreck. David Wilson Jr. on the, looks like coming off of turn 2 there. And he had some, we'll get the replay up for you in a moment here, but there's a big problem. Looks like the car started to get loose coming through turns 1 and 2, and as he was trying to save it, he just kind of got himself into a tank slapper, hit that outside wall hard, and I think he got collected with
James Dowland.
Yeah, it was James Dowland ends up hitting that machine, and I don't know if there's going to be much damage to Dowland. Yeah, there is some front end damage to that 42 machine, but that was some basically David Wilson went on quite the ride there, and there is some heavy damage to that 273 car.
So he is right now on the apron, letting everybody else buy some takers to pit road. No, Todd Labronte looked like he wanted to go, but again, just mind games as of right now. We're only 21 laps into this race as well, so I don't think that most of these drivers will be heading to pit road. Aside from a couple that do have damage, James Dowland is in pit road along with Jason Wallet and Layla Wilson.
Yeah, I don't think these guys are going to quite have the fuel to go the full distance. Apparently it is possible if you save fuel and we get some cautions, but with 200 laps, I'm sure at some point they are going to have to come down, top up that fuel tank, and with the way these cars are, it's not a really fast pit stop, and you don't want to be sitting there filling up the entire tank if you don't need it. So these guys are probably going to just see how far they can carry the fuel that they have in the machine right now, and only come down pit road to bang out some damage that they may have.
Yeah, I tuned into the earlier coverage of one of the earlier splits, and I heard that, you know, these guys can almost go the whole length, so that means they must have at least 100 laps of fuel in the bank. That means these guys will probably wait until around halfway or later before they ever come in. You know, sometimes earlier is better, just so you don't have to fill up as much gas in the pits. But just like with a lot of short track cars here on iRacing, it's a risky game when you come in to get service to your car, because tires and fuel, they all take so long on these cars because they're not, those kind of stops aren't normal for these cars. If anything, they come in, they get pits or get through the pits and just get damage repaired or make an adjustment to the car. That's normally all that you might see at a local short track. So, you know, most of these pit stops that you would normally see is left to the NASCAR guys. It's not necessarily a thing you see all the time with these short track cars, so they're longer pit stops, and that's something these guys have to keep in mind whenever they do get the brakes to come in and get fuel.
Yeah, that really is the case. So I don't think there's going to be a little bit of pit strategy to it, but I don't think it's going to be really that in depth. I'm sure these guys are going to try to carry the tires they've got until the end, unless they do decide they can quickly change them before the pace car will come to put them a lap down. But everyone, pretty much everyone is electing to stay on the track for now, and I think we may be getting the one to go this time by. Lights are gonna be out on the pace car, so yeah, next time by we are gonna go back to green. Ashley Howell leading the field as they're gonna get stacked up 2 by 2 once more.
Indeed, they are 2 by 2, just waiting for that perfect moment to keep going as well, or at least get back under green, I should say. And I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing a few battles between the, well, at least we'll be seeing the battle completely increase between both the 969 and the 3 of Todd Labronte and Mike Kelly.
Yeah, keep an eye on that hot pink machine on the outside. Maybe he might have a good jump to take the fight to Ashley Howell. Ashley has not been under fire at all throughout the first bit of this race here, and really Ashley didn't even get too much pressure during his heat either. But Ashley going to lead the field down through turns 3 and 4 at pace speed 55 miles an hour. Pace car getting ready to duck onto pit road, and we'll see when Ashley's going to fire up that engine. Ashley gets a great jump, and looks like there was also a jump on that outside. Josh Tanner tried to go, but was left with nowhere to go. And Labronte actually going to keep up with Ashley at first, and the Mike Kelly again trying to see if he can get to the inside of Labronte right off the bat.
A great restart.
Sorry, Andrew.
Oh, go ahead.
Looking through the field, still side by side for relatively a few parts of the track. I'm looking at the battle between Eddie Hawks and that 43 and the 21 of Tarbox Jr. Tarbox is going to make his way by on the outside, but still down to the inside is going to be Hawks. Nothing as of yet. Battle just up ahead of them between Josh Tanner and Mike Kelly.
Ashley Howell with a great restart. He's going to, unfortunately, not be able to pull away just yet from Todd Labronte, but Labronte at least aiding the 16 and getting away from the rest of the field. Josh Tanner moves ahead of Kelly, and behind the battle for 5th is Tarbox Jr. and Eddie Hawks. The 43 looking to the inside in turns 1 and 2. Gets the nose there, doesn't make a pass just yet. Tarbox hanging on to the top line. He's going to have the advantage through the dogleg.
Yeah, Tarbox went way up the hill, but just in front of the battle for 3rd. Mike Kelly's going to try to make a move to the inside of Josh Tanner, and he's going to get clear, but watch for Josh Tanner to have the momentum down the front straightaway. But looks like Kelly's going to kind of squeeze him out just a little bit. Tanner not quite able to get the power all the way down, so Mike Kelly back into that 3rd position, and he's going to see if maybe he can close that gap to Todd Labronte. And speaking of Labronte, he is putting some heavy pressure onto Ashley Howell right now, and it looks like Labronte might even be trying to make a move for the lead.
Labronte is trying. I almost said Labonte. I was close, and he's going to look to the outside. A little bit of contact, I believe, was made as well. Got Howell a little bit sideways coming out turn number 4. A little bit of a bobble I saw. But Labronte, he was there coming out turn number 4. He just couldn't quite get just beside Ashley Howell. So for now, Howell is in the lead, and oh my goodness, all over the back bumper is going to be Labronte.
Yeah, these cars may look nimble, but they aren't exactly as nimble as maybe a NASCAR Cup car around Phoenix, so you can't really make the moves that you got to make to try and make passes. So we saw Labronte get right to the fuel tank of Ashley Howell, couldn't do anything with it, had to back out of turn 4, and now you see these guys just slipping and sliding out of turns 2 and 4, trying to hang on, trying to mount a run at Ashley Howell. Todd Labronte can't do it there, caution out in the back.
I'm sure that's something that Labronte didn't want to see, as we're going to try to find out where this caution is. I think it may involve the 60 of Rick Scott. Yeah, Rick Scott just losing the car after turns 1 and 2. We're just going to get a quick replay up, and he actually got a little bit of help around as he bobbled through 1 and 2, just got a little bit of a tag from the rear end, and it just sent that car around. And luckily, he was able to keep it off the wall, so no major damage to that 60 machine. And I think that's just a product of hard racing in these cars, as we've seen many times that just a little tap from the rear end is just going to lift those rear tires up and send them around. And that's just how these cars are built. There really isn't a rear bumper. You just have a fuel, like a rounded off fuel tank there, like a sprint car, and all it's got is just a few bash bars on it, so you can't really go bumping and banging with these cars. We actually saw that earlier coming off of 4 with Howell and Labronte. Labronte kind of got into the rear end of Howell, and it really upset that 16 machine, and that's almost wrecked Ashley out of the race lead. So you've got to be careful in these cars. They are short track cars, but kind of going against the short track philosophy. They aren't meant for bumping and banging.
Yeah, a little bit of help that's from Layla Wilson as well. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the only damage they got, though, was just a few paint scrapes. So, I mean, luckily for Rick, he can get back going. He is still on track. He's actually in pit road right now, I should say. Heading to get that damage repaired. Into his pit stall he goes. But Layla Wilson also in her pit stall as well. Probably also taking advantage of this. I see Jason Wallet as well. So, again, it's just the same two drivers. I remember Jason Wallen and Layla Wilson. Those two came down pit road on the first caution. So it just all goes back to fuel once again.
Yeah, I don't know if they're really filling up the fuel tanks. It might just be coming down and quickly banging out some damage. I mean, if you're already sitting that far, if you're already sitting in the back of the field, you might as well come in and just make sure your car is as clean as possible. And Layla might have gotten a bit of damage on the front end after just getting into the back of the 60. It wasn't a huge impact between those two machines, but it still might be enough to damage that front end. And we saw in the heat races, if you really bang up that front end, it takes away from just that little bit of downforce that you have, and you will still be able to put down some decent lap times, but you're going to be putting a lot more effort onto those tires, and you're going to wear off those tires pretty quickly, and a few laps later you're just going to be struggling to hold on to that machine.
Yeah, I mean, these guys can't really do anything in the pits as far as adjustments to the car, so you have to imagine, Kelly, that it would be just trying to come in and get some damage banged out. Under this caution, though, the beneficiary of the lucky dog will actually be David Wilson Jr. Saw him go around the field, so that's good news for him after being caught up in something a little while ago. But yeah, I mean, not really much of anything else to do in the pits. Not really sure what else they could be doing other than getting fuel or banging out some dents.
Yeah, and we've mentioned that fuel isn't going to be the hugest factor. These things do have huge fuel tanks as the lights go on the pace car. They have massive fuel tanks, but the engines are very thirsty. They will just guzzle through the amount of fuel that they do have. But I think we'll be able to you'll see these things go out, stay on the racetrack for a large period of time, as we're not even a quarter of the way through this race. I think they'll at least be able to make it towards the tail end of this race before they have to come down and quickly top off the tanks.
Hopefully they can, at least probably about near halfway, or maybe just about lap 150 is my guess. I'm not really sure what the fuel limit would be for these vehicles, but that's something that we can find out, something we can experiment with, see if what these drivers do when they pit, when they don't pit, if they stay out or not. But we are coming back to the green.
That's right, pace car is going to duck down to the safety of pit road. Green is actually going to come out. Ashley Howell elected not to jump that time around, and it caught a few people off guard, and that's going to allow Ashley to really jump ahead. And there was actually 3 wide back in the field. I think it was Robert Tarbox was trying to make a move on the outside, ended up backing out, but everyone is still stacked up hard after that late jump by Ashley Howell.
That caught everybody off guard as well, and unfortunately Tarbox is one of them. He's battling right now beside Troy Anderson, and of course just right in front of them is going to be Eddie Hawks and Josh Tanner. But your top 3 is pretty much already sorted out right now. It's Howell, Kelly, and Labronte, but everybody else is completely scrambling for position. And right when I say that, Tanner makes his way by Eddie Hawks.
Almost contact from Hawks to the 84 car. I did notice under that caution, to answer our own questions and concerns, these cars have 58-gallon tanks in the rear, and that translates into about 140 laps of green flag racing. So that goes back to the point that Kelly brought up, actually. Some cautions could allow them to go the full distance, but this race has been decently green so far, and we're shaping up for another single file run.
And also the thing is, when you burn, that is a lot of fuel that's in the back end of that car. When that is burnt off, that is going to change the weight of the machine and change the weight distribution and just really change how it's going to handle. So these drivers are going to have to adapt to that as this race goes on. But we're going to take a look at the quick look at the battle for second. Todd Labronte is all over Mike Kelly, and these guys have gone at it multiple times. Mike Kelly was able to sneak by on that last restart, and Labronte wants that spot back. And I'm sure Ashley Howell's happy to be seeing them battle behind him, as Labronte taking a look to the inside off of turn 4, but can't quite get the power down to be able to make the pass on Kelly. And he's going to try once again. He's actually going to get his nose to the inside this time through 1 and 2.
And then he gets loose out of turn 2, and that's going to set him back once again. So he had the run. He just, it's all about, again, throttle control or steering or wherever you are on the racetrack. Those roughly 3 factors, and also don't forget your tire wear. So it's 4 factors that can play into effect where either get loose, pretty much how you exit the corner. So Labronte's going to try again, this time entering a little bit higher than normal, or higher than he did the last time around. And of course right now that battle for second has finally sorted itself out, but the battle for 4th place is again between Eddie Hawks and Troy Anderson. And actually Hawks was just a little bit farther down the apron, gets too much onto it. He's going to get loose. He does hang on to it though, but that's going to send him back about to 7th place right now.
And one of the only adjustments these guys can make in the car is an adjustment to the weight jacker. So if you know what the weight jacker is, it basically just moves weight in the car. Going down the apron, just like we saw Eddie Hawks do in the 43, essentially is a very drastic adjustment to the weight of the car, and that's why they get so loose down there. So again, very interesting, just like I mentioned in Heat 2, to see guys going down there and putting the left sides on the apron. Sometimes you don't have an option, but it's interesting nonetheless to see them use that apron.
Yeah, and I'm sure the people that drive the Indy car are well aware of the weight jacker. And for those that don't drive the Indy car or the Silver Crown, what it does is it changes the ride height in just that, I believe it's the right rear wheel. So you'll actually lift up that car just a little bit or lower it down to adjust it, and that will change, that will make the car drive differently, handle differently, make it a bit looser, a bit tighter depending on what you want. So those drivers are going to have to make adjustments to that as the weight or as the fuel burns off in the back of the car, and it is going to change how those cars handle. So these guys are just trying to find out what their options are for the grip. And we're going to go back to the battle for second. Here comes Todd Labronte on the outside this time. He's going to get around Mike Kelly before they even make it into turn 1.
Just trying as best they can do, and while Labronte's again doing an amazing job, and well, more like Labronte and Kelly, both of these drivers are putting on an amazing show. But again, like mentioned earlier, Ashley Howell is enjoying this in his rearview mirror, because that's something he doesn't have to worry about anymore. And of course, that gap between first and second, well, it's about 0.7 of a second, 0.6. It's fluctuating between those two numbers right now. It's about 0.62, 0.61. It's actually closing just a little bit right now. But again, just interesting as I'm seeing, looking through the field, pretty much the entire top 10 is relatively spread out. And speaking of top 10, Michael Lightly is going to make a pass for 10th in that 77. Slowed up just a little bit. Riley Thompson sent down to 11th. Jose Pabon and just a couple others are going to be tailing on to this battle as well.
Todd Labronte right now, the fastest car on the track, seems like. He's got a pretty good long run car, running in the neighborhood of almost 0.3 faster than Ashley Howell, and he has almost caught right up to the 16. That 9.69 is on a roll.
Yeah, watch for that hot pink machine, the pink lady, to be chasing down the 16 of Ashley Howell. And Todd Labronte is getting closer and closer every corner. He has found where the grip is at the moment, and he really has just had that car come in underneath of him. And there's some great speed being shown by Todd Labronte, and we're gonna have to keep an eye on this battle for the lead that is starting to shape up. We saw them go at it just before the caution, and Todd Labronte's now back up to the 16 and trying to see if he can pick up where he left off.
Hopefully he can. I'm looking at the timing right now. It's showing 0.2 of a second separating them, and well, that's actually completely closed up right now as well. Just allows us gap about 2 or 3 car lengths separate these two. Howell looks like he lost a little bit of momentum in the middle turns 3 and 4, or Labronte got a little bit of a better jump, but completely shooting off at the moment right now. It's going to be Howell, and in the turns 1 and 2 they go. Battle for around 11th or at least 12th and 13th right now. 705 Jose Pabon is in the middle of all this, and everybody pretty much just from here on back is swapping positions using completely different lanes, and everyone is just trying to hang on to their vehicle. I'm seeing the 377 was a little bit loose after turn number 2 as well.
Labronte right now seems to have just a tighter car in a way. It seems like it rotates pretty good in the center of the corner, Kelly, and then just fires off pretty straight out of the corner. Saw a mistake from him there in 1 and 2, but I've been watching his car, and it just seems to rotate in the center and just drive off straight with an Ashley Howell, and I think that's what's giving him this advantage, caution out in the back.
And that's definitely something that Labronte didn't want to see again. Every time he's got the momentum, he just ends up a caution coming out. And I think that might be James Dowen, possibly. Or no, it's not James Dowen. It is Layla Wilson. Layla Wilson getting in trouble. We're going to get a replay up on your screen here. And this was just a long accident, getting a bit of a shove, actually, from Brandon Whitworth, who had a great run off the corner, but just tagged the Wilson. And unfortunately, Wilson gets put into the wall and then tagged once again, so some heavy damage to that 943 machine, and hopefully she'll be able to come down and get it quickly fixed up. But I think that was just a I don't think Brandon Whitworth was just expecting the speed difference coming off of turn 4, and unfortunately got into the back of that 943 machine.
Yeah, Wilson tried to move out of the way in time, but he just couldn't. As soon as Wilson came up, he decided to go down, and well, unfortunately, that was just incredibly incorrect timing. And sorry, well, yeah, Wilson actually gets a piece of that. I believe I'm talking about the wrong person. Sorry, Whitworth, coming out of turn number 4, just had nowhere to go, and unfortunately runs into the back of Layla Wilson and sends her around into the wall.
Yeah, a lot of cars now coming down to the pits this time, actually. Looks like Todd Labronte is one of the takers, so a few drivers deciding that maybe if they take fuel now, they can make it all the way to the end. So that's probably the strategy for the Labronte and others like Wallet, Troy Anderson, Eddie Hawks, Jose Pabon, David Wilson. A large number of drivers, basically about half the field, has come down the pit to pit this time around. So I would assume that these guys are guessing that they can make it to the end if they top up the tanks now and maybe get a couple cautions along the way. I think you mentioned, Andrew, that they can make it about 140 laps of green flag racing, and I think that if they're just guessing maybe 2-3 cautions, it would be enough. And I'm sure with as we get past a quarter of the way through this race, we are going to get 2 or 3 more cautions at the very least.
Yeah, this pretty much gets us to a window where they can start trying to reasonably make it to the end. And just a couple of cautions. I mean, even this caution right here, where they get back out onto the track, and once they catch the field, they can save, is going to help them, because this can get them maybe, you know, only 2 or 3 laps, but get a few more cautions, you can open up that fuel window. This gives them just under 150 currently, so really 2-3 cautions, and I think they're pretty much in the clear. It's going to be close, though.
But there also is another risk to that as well. When you come down to pit, you're no longer going to be up front of the field. You're now going to be way back in the field, and you're going to be in the thick of it. So it's a bit of more of a risk. You have a bit higher of a chance of getting involved in a wreck, or having a wreck happen in front of you, and you have to dodge it. So there is a bit of a risk to this strategy as well, but it could be a bit of a payoff, because later on, you know, Ashley Howell's going to have to come down pit road, and these guys that pitted earlier are just going to get shuffled back up to the front.
I'm looking through the timing and scoring, about 10th place on deck. So 10th to 21st did go to pit road, whether it was for, well, pretty much anything. Shortest pit stop was from Jason Wallet, 8.9 seconds, and 34.8 seconds on pit road overall. Lights out on the pace car. Everyone's already double file. We get to see a little bit of a battle, actually. I thought, goodness, well, his name just left me, but I was hoping to see another battle between Mike Kelly and, goodness, I believe it was Todd Labronte that was up here. And yes, it was, as he's 16 positions out from where he started. So Josh Tanner, Carl Burke, and Robert Tarbucks Jr. round out your top 5 for this restart.
Ashley Howell going to be leading the field once again, as he's done every start and restart so far. But we'll have to see what Mike Kelly's going to be able to do on the start. Again, Ashley waiting for that green flag to fly before getting on the throttle, and that is going to give him a bit of help. And look at Carl Burke getting a great launch on that outside, actually able to move himself up into third before they even reach the first corner. But Mike Kelly now getting a bit of momentum, and he might be able to see if he can put some pressure on that 16 machine.
Mike Kelly right now in the tire tracks of Ashley Howell has not gone away. You mentioned Carl Burke shot into third place. Now he's back under fire from fourth place Josh Tanner. He's going to complete the pass into turns 1 and 2.
Yes, good move by Tanner just to keep the pressure on. Actually, a bit of a wobble there coming off of turn 2, so some problems for Tanner, but he is still able to hold on to that position for the moment. So Tanner still in definitely a strong battle for that third place with Carl Burke.
And Burke gets a little bit loose coming out turn number 4. So basically opposite ends of the track here is where these two got loose. Tanner gets a complete dump of momentum. Either that or Burke just got a huge shot of momentum, but he completely closed that gap on Tanner in between turns 1 and 2 for a moment. Right now, so far, none of them are loose out turn number 2, and sticking with Ashley Howell is Mike Kelly, but lap times between those two are most likely just a little bit faster for at least number 16. Last time around, it was Ashley Howell that was just about 200ths faster than Kelly.
And we mentioned getting stuck in the back of the pack for some of these guys like Todd Labronte, who was almost into a battle for the lead just before that previous caution. Well, the good news for them right now, even though they're in the back of the pack, is they could run a little bit easier, maybe try and save a few drops of gas, and it might not seem like much, but that can amount to a half a lap at a time over the course of, 5 or so laps. It can just, every little bit is going to help in this situation for these guys who are trying to stretch a little bit of fuel.
It could help them a little bit, but it's like I said, it's a bit of a risk being back in that field because they are just in a huge battle right now. And Labronte earlier, he was just kind of easily driving out front, not having much to really pass anyone, occasionally having a fight with Mike Kelly a bit, but he didn't have to make a pass every lap as he's pretty much doing right now, as he just got around David Wilson, now trying to go after Jose. But it's definitely a bit more risky to make that move, but it could pay off in the end. But we're not going to see the payoff for another about 100 laps or so.
Yeah, it's going to take a while for everyone again just to get back into their rhythm that they had. I think Riley Thompson just got a small piece of the wall coming up turn number 4. He is still going straight though, and into turn 1 I should say, was Eddie Hawks. He got an amazing run and almost got to the back bumper of Thompson, but Hawks going to keep that momentum up right now. Looking to the inside for third place is going to be Carl Burke, and Tanner still just on that, I don't know if you will, a defensive line in his own way. He's still getting some momentum, and right now Kelly is starting to drop back just ever so slightly from Howell's lead.
Yeah, Mike Kelly just trying to hang with Howell has done a pretty good job of it so far. Obviously, a pretty decent lead that Howell has. And we saw Howell walk out to, I think, about a 5-second lead, we guessed, just before a caution ended Heat 1. But, actually caution out in the back.
Gonna try to take a look at who brought out the caution. It looks to be James Dowan this time. He has brought it out. Actually, again, no, James Dowan just sneaking around it. There's a big wreck back in the field, and that's actually going to involve Todd Labronte.
Found the incident, and yeah, this time Labronte got way too quick into the corner, slammed on the brakes. Michael lightly slams into him, and then Jason Wallet manages to somehow not get a piece of that, and also sneaking through is James Dowan, like you mentioned. So relatively a 3-car incident, and well, Wallet in a way is not really involved in this. He did manage to just barely avoid that by spitting himself out to the inside.
Yeah, a little bit of damage for Todd Labronte, and this is what I was mentioning. There's a bit of a risk going back in the field. He was just a little bit faster than those guys in front of him, but as he checked up, it just kind of caused him to get a little bit sideways, and unfortunately just got tagged in the rear end. And as you did mention earlier, just you basically bump the rear end of these cars, and it's gonna spin that guy around. So I think LeBronc is going to be okay. He does have that fast repair in his back pocket just in case there is a lot of damage that is going to affect that car, but it's looking like he didn't take too hard of a shot.
Yeah, and I have to give credit where credit is due here, Kelly. It may not have been the greatest move from those guys to go to the back, because now we see the effect of that. But Labronte, you know, that situation could have been far worse. We've seen cars flip already tonight, and he could have been one of those right there. So, you know, you got to take whatever, I guess, little breaks you can get. I think, you know, that wreck could have been far worse, and that's a bit of a break for Todd Labronte. That it just wasn't way worse than it could have been. So we see him go around, get some damage to the front end, maybe a little bit to the fuel tank in the rear as well. But all in all, still a decent, I guess, way to come out of that situation. Not too much damage.
But as we were talking about that, Ashley Howell came down to the pit road and got a little bit more fuel in that machine. So Ashley is now ready to go all the way to the finish. Mike Kelly is going to take over the race lead. This is the first lead change we have had in this race, and unfortunately wasn't even really on the racetrack, but we're going to have to see what Mike Kelly's going to be able to do now that he is going to have some clear track in front of him. But unfortunately, it may be that this might not be the right strategy. We've seen a few drivers that have come down the pit early, and Mike Kelly, as soon as next time he comes to pit, it's going to put him really far back in the field. But as well, we have seen that risk of getting thrown further back in the field. We just saw it from Todd Labronte, how he got caught up in an accident when he was all the way back there in the thick of it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the 16 can do with Ashley Howell. And not really sure. The lights are on the pace car, but for some reason Eddie Hawks hasn't moved to the outside. Now he does. All right, I guess he was just waiting just to make sure that everything was okay, double checking everything in his interior. But it's gonna be even more interesting to see what Mike Kelly can do, but we can see if Ashley can make his way up through the field.
The first time tonight, someone other than Ashley Howell leads the field down to the restart zone. Pace car dives down to the inside, and Mike Kelly gets onto the throttle almost immediately, getting a huge jump as everyone was kind of expecting Kelly to pull what Ashley had been doing and waiting up just a little bit, but he is launched ahead of Eddie Hawks. He's trying to defend the inside of Riley Thompson.
Everyone, again, as usual, per these restarts, just scrambling for whatever position they can get to the inside of the battle for. About 7th place is going to be between the 705 on the high side, that's Jose Pablo, and Rick Scott in the 60 on the low side. I believe he actually wrecked out one of the heats early on as well. It's good for him that he's back up here, at least around the top 10. 9th place is right now the 84. Josh Tanner is going to be on the high side. Ashley Howell, meanwhile, is goodness. Well, pretty much about 3 wide. Not really, but a little bit of a huge wad of cars through the dogleg there, and almost contact from Michael Lightly to James Dowin in turn 3 as well. Goodness gracious, everyone is all over the place right now.
Rick Scott moves out of turn 4, pounds the inside wall, keeps moving on though, no caution for the 60. He will lose all of that ground he had made up though, unfortunately, so move Rick Scott back to the rear of the field. Meanwhile, here comes Josh Tanner to the inside of the 273 of David Wilson Jr. And I think on that restart, Kelly, a lot of guys up in the front that hadn't been in the front before for one of these restarts kind of just got caught off guard, weren't really in a rhythm of maximizing their potential on restarts.
And we nearly had a 3 wide just back in the field, and I think you're correct. I don't think these guys were just ready for being able to just have to instantly react to the front driver taking off like Mike Kelly did, and really just got caught sleeping. As now Eddie Hawks is almost he's 7/10 of a second, going to be probably around, actually almost a full second now, 9/10 of a second back from Mike Kelly, and Mike Kelly is just kind of cruising at this moment. But unfortunately, he knows in the back of his mind that next, when he does have to come down pit road, he's going to get really thrown back in the field.
Yeah, he's going to have to prepare and make sure that he can make up all that ground as quick as possible. Pretty sure that was a little bit of a commentator's curse as well for Rick Scott. Really unfortunate. He is still going. However, I don't believe he's in pit road at the moment. He is not, so thankfully he can still keep going, but I can probably take blame for that. As a pass for 7th, that's going to be between Brendan Whitworth and David Wilson Jr. Apparently Wilson, I think Brendan Whitworth has a little bit of damage as well, a little bit of right front damage from early on. I don't believe, considering that he's up here in 7th, I'm pretty sure that he has not went to pit road yet, so he's waiting for that right moment. But meanwhile, Ashley Howell, just a couple cars behind them, is starting to make his way back up through the field.
And I've been watching Ashley Howell consistently put down the fastest laps on the track. Not that time, actually, Mike Kelly took that title back over, but for a while there, the 16 was running the fastest out of anyone on the track. And you see the effect of that. He's now trying to work by Jose Pabon. Can't get it done there. Kind of squeezing each other into turns 3 and 4. The 705 not giving any room, wants to hang on to 8th spot.
And Ashley Howell just trying to gain as much ground as he can. Already got himself back up into that top 10, and now trying to see if he can get around Pabon and Whitworth. And now going to try to almost diamond that corner and go to the inside, but gets the door just slammed shut by Pabon, who's going to dive to the inside of Brandon Whitworth. And Ashley just trying to see where a gap can be, and just had a bit of a moment there going into turn 3. Just got that car a little bit squirrely, and that was definitely something that'll get your heart racing if you're in that 16 machine.
Yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking, no doubt, as well for Ashley, as he's finally going to be able to get to the inside. Brendan Whitworth here down the dog leg, using the rumble strip. Nope, can't get it done just yet. Not enough momentum. Maybe laying back a little bit more than he wants, just to be playing it safe. While the last time around, the fastest lap was a 26.267 by Josh Kenner. And so far it seems to be the same. So Ashley Howell, when he was up front, he's been having the fastest laps of all day, but right now Tanner has the fastest lap, 26.701, as finally Ashley Howell gets by Brendan Whitworth. So once again, just slowly starting to make his way back up through the field is going to be Howell.
And you mentioned it, Gary, he finally got by the 377, gets into that position. Now he gets to try and go to work on Jose Pabon once more, and this time I think it's going to be harder for the 705 to defend that spot.
Yeah, the 705 trying to hold on as much as possible, and Ashley Howell just trying to gain the ground and just kind of get himself into a position that maybe he knows that the driver's in front just to have to pit, so he can just kind of get shuffled to the lead. Like Mike Kelly, we know is going to have to come down pit road. Same with Eddie Hawks. Our 1-2 drivers right now are just kind of temporarily holding on to those positions. But Ashley just has to make sure he doesn't make a move that's going to be way too risky. He's got to take his time. There's still a lot of racing left in this, and we're still sitting at just about coming on to lap 79 here. So Ashley just needs to be patient and take the positions as they come. And that's kind of what he's doing, just calmly trying to pick the positions, and he's going to get a good run down the front straight and trying to make a move to the inside of Pabon, this time going into 1 and 2.
He's going to get that about half a car advantage coming up to number 2, clears him for that 7th place position. So he can move Ashley Howell up to 2nd place right now. Meanwhile, just a long line of cars is starting, while more like about 4 or so cars forming behind this line as well. As again, Howell just slowly but quickly making his way back up. Only 80 laps, or working lap 80 right now, 79 have been completed. And Mike Kelly has been leading every single lap since. Well, I did mention earlier that some other drivers, especially Ashley Howell, have been had the fastest laps of all, pretty much the entire run. But right now, Mike Kelly, as of last time, 26.369 was the fastest lap on track. Right now, he's going to cross the line. 26.384 was his fastest lap just around the start-finish line. Ashley Howell was a 26.342. 200ths faster was Ashley Howell.
Ashley Howell continuing to work his way through the field, now looking after the 273 of David Wilson. He's got a little ways to go, but it's certainly making a dent in that gap. That would be for the 6th position. Your top 5 currently is Mike Kelly, Eddie Hawks, Thomas Peterson, Josh Tanner, and Riley Thompson. Then you get David Wilson Jr. in 6th, and Ashley Howell just sending that car into each corner entry and maximizing his exit speed, doing a great job in that number 16.
And Mike Kelly actually really holding on to a commanding lead at the moment. He's already 1.7 seconds ahead of Eddie Hawks, and he's just kind of cruising out there, trying to take care of that race car. And he may be trying to see if he could try to stretch this fuel all the way to the end, but I don't think you're going to be able to get another 60 laps out of the tank, and I don't think we've had enough cautions in this race, so he may be trying to lift and coast as much as possible now that he's got a bit of time behind him, but it's going to be definitely an uphill battle for him to do that. But I think he's the only car on track that hasn't pit.
Actually, also another driver that also hasn't pitted is Brendan Whitworth. He's sitting in the 11th right now in that 377, but not having as good as a run just yet. So 2 drivers out of this entire race as of pretty much fifth caution of the day.
Yeah, Jose Pabon has had his luck run out. A big wreck for him, and that's going to involve a few other drivers as well. I think that also involves Tarbox Jr. Going to get a replay up on your screen, but that was just a case of another tank slapper. We've seen it happen a couple times. The car tries to get loose. They try to catch it and sends them into the outside wall. And someone that got very lucky there was that hot pink machine of Labronte. Just barely missed him. Pabon did, and just ends up colliding with the wall. Is unfortunately going to take out the Tarbox Jr. as well, as he was just left with absolutely nowhere to go. But that was a hard hit for those 2 drivers, and they're definitely have to come down pit road to either take their fast repair, bang out the damage that they have, or possibly even have to park it for the night.
Well, it's going to be unfortunate. Kelly to pit road, Eddie Hawks, Thomas Pearson, David Wilson Jr., Whitworth, and Jason Wallet, Layla Wilson also to pit road. So is Terry Wellman, Rick Scott, Tarbox Jr., and James Dowan to pit road.
Josh Tanner is going to be the one to take on the race lead, and we are going to come back to this as soon as we take a quick break of our own. So keep your eyes peeled on this broadcast. We'll be right back with the Copper World Classic Atlantic Majors only on LSRTV.
So obviously you guys have come from the virtual world to reality. What do you think about a sim racer coming in the real world? What were your expectations coming in?
Coming from iRacing, you know, a computer program basically down here to a real world scenario where you got all these guys with all these years and years and years and years of experience that are also using iRacing as a tool to come out and run against those guys and beat them and finish ahead of them and show them, you know, there's a thing or two you might be missing is fantastic. You know, I mean, that's a skill that I know I don't have, and I can appreciate it because I'm terrible at iRacing.
Glenn was able to come into the team. We did a lot of preseason testing, actually a full season's worth of testing before we even started the season. And he came in, there was a lot of sectors that he was the fastest guy out of our team. And Sparky and I looking at data, trying to catch up to him through some turns. And of course, you know, some places Sparky will be the fastest or I'll be the fastest, and Glenn is able to learn from, you know, what we're doing, and vice versa. So it was excellent to see his pace right off of the bat, and speed was never a worry. You know, it's about qualifying well. Qualifying is very difficult, you know, and pretty important in this series. And so is, you know, being able to make effective passes without contact. It's very difficult to pass in these cars, so, you know, it's not easy being here.
I think the level of ultra competitiveness in here, where
underway in the
normally
Copper
when you
World
make a
Classic for the Atlantic Major Series, Josh Tanner led that restart there, but he is already under some pressure from Riley Thompson, and just behind Riley Thompson as well as the Ashley Howell and Todd Labronte, 2 very fast drivers. But here comes Riley Thompson to the outside. We have got 2x2 for the first 2 rows in a battle for the race lead, really a 4-car battle for the race lead. Big slide from Josh Tanner, nearly lost control of that machine, and Riley Thompson's going to take over the race lead.
4th lead change of the day, and Tanner, of course, is well, we can definitely tell who the wheelman is now, because my goodness, that was an amazing save, but he's still under fire from Todd Labronte on that outside, and that hot pink machine, or he's trying to get by on the outside, but right now Tanner just has that inside lane closed right now. Closed for business as Josh Tanner as well right now. That business is definitely getting worked on right now, but Labronte gets that advantage for a split second, hanging the turns 1 and 2, and almost a little bit of contact as well. I'm seeing 3 wide a little bit, at least it seems in the back. Labronte finally gets by. Tanner falls back to 3rd.
And that caution and that restart and that slide from Josh Tanner all going to change the complexion of this race. You see LeBronti get loose, but the big thing to note there, guys, is Todd LeBronti just worked right by Ashley Howell, and if he can hang on to that while he gets by Riley Thompson, that really changes everything about what we've known all night, because we've just seen Ashley Howell out front and just walking away from the field. But now, if he has to work by another fast car of Todd LeBronti, that could really be a game changer.
Yeah, but Riley Thompson is holding on to that position for as well as he can. And really, LeBronti isn't out in the clear yet because he's also under fire from Josh Tanner as well. And LeBronti sends it hard around the outside, getting a great run, but getting a little bit loose on the high side, nearly getting into both Thompson and Tanner. And Thompson's now going to try to fight back as we continue to have a 4-car, nearly a 5-car battle for the lead.
Your 5th lead change goes to LeBronti, and going to get that the start-finish line just barely. And Thompson's still battling back on the outside. I think that actually the 84 of Tanner was on the back bumper of LeBronti as well. And look at who's actually finally caught up with this caution as well. Number 16 of Ashley Howell. He has finally made his way back up into the top 5. He can make his way back up into the lead in just a few moments if he does keep up this pace and somehow get around what essentially can call for him these moving roadblocks, because, well, these moving roadblocks are pretty much hindering Ashley Howell just a little bit. Since he was faster, he dives it in, almost gets into the back of Thompson, overshoots just a little bit as well. Still manages to keep it under control and stay in 4th.
As this battle gets to single file now into turns 3 and 4, it's lap 94 of 200, and Troy Anderson has finally joined the fight. He's in 5th spot, trying to look for maybe a gap when maybe Ashley Howell makes a move on Riley Thompson in the 283. I think we'll see the 22 try and shoot the gap and follow. Troy Anderson now in the mix, can't get it done there.
And Riley Thompson going to see if he can maybe cross over Ashley Howell, but Ashley getting right on that throttle, getting a good launch off the corner. Now looking back up to the front, Josh Tanner, he's actually putting some pressure on Todd LeBronti. He's trying to get himself back into that race lead as LeBronti's got some clear track ahead of him, but here comes Tanner. What a launch off of turn 4. A huge run, and he's going to go to the inside of Todd LeBronti and nearly clear that machine before they even get through 1 and 2. A bit of a slide that's going to cut off his chances. LeBronti is going to defend that position, but now Tanner's in trouble. Ashley Howell getting some momentum now, trying to look to the inside going into turn 3.
Here comes Howell to reclaim his place on the throne. Got to the inside just a little bit of Tanner, but right now that's going to cause Howell to fall back just a little bit. But we have seen Howell dominate pretty much this entire race, and I think it was either the 1st or 2nd heat, but he dominated that as well. Battle for 4th behind them, as these drivers are still single file. Troy Anderson on the high side in that 22. Riley Thompson is under fire as well from Mike Kelly in that number 3, who gets a little bit loose in the middle of the corner. Again, still manages to keep it under control. It's just something we're going to be seeing a lot. I'm seeing the positions swap between 17th and 18th just multiple times. That's Rick Scott and Thomas Peterson.
As the top 3 is kind of checked out on 4th, 5th, and 6th, Mike Kelly works his way back into the top 5. We saw him pit just a caution ago, and Kelly, we've been talking about the risks of pitting and going to the back. Well, Mike Kelly worked his way right through the field, and I think he was kind of aided in the fact that a lot of cars actually came with him. So he actually has now worked his way into the top 5. Now he's working on 4th to try and get by Troy Anderson, and this battle has brought in David Wilson now working on Riley Thompson.
But unfortunately, he is about over a second behind, really, as this group of 3 is really just taken off. And here comes Josh Tanner, another big run up towards Todd LeBronti. He just doesn't have the space to try to make a move, though, but backing out of that move has almost put him into the grasp of Ashley Howell, and this is just a dogfight for the top position as all 3 of these drivers are trying to find whatever run they can get and any space that they can get to try to make a move for the race lead. And that move could be a decisive one, as we're really getting towards the halfway, actually just passing the halfway point now. 100
laps down, 100 laps to go, and your top 3 battle is, well, top your top three battle for that first place position is already heating up. Peeking to the outside now is Josh Tanner, and to the inside goes Howell for that second place position. He keeps looking there. Tires on the yellow line, a little bit below. Manages to get that front bumper just even with that back. Then a little bit loose of turn 4 was Todd LeBronte. He's going to try and go up to protect. Almost nowhere to go. This could be a 3 wide situation as Tanner is going to be moving to the high side. Here comes Howell. He's going to have to pick a line and figure out which one he's going to have to use. As right now, Josh Tanner is in the lead. There's 6th lead change of the day.
Mike Kelly now joining the fight. He's in 4th. He got by Troy Anderson. Now he's looking to get by the 16 of Ashley Howell as Todd LeBronte continues to slide out of each and every corner. Josh Tanner, like you said, Garrett retakes the lead. Now Ashley Howell gets to go to work on the 969, Kelly.
And can we take a moment to talk about Mike Kelly? Actually, we can't, as caution comes out on the racetrack once more. So Rick Scott getting in more trouble on the racetrack. He is now down there in turns 1, spun the wrong way around, and looks like actually there was just it was a multi-car incident, and I think Rick Scott was just a bystander. We're going to get the LSRTV replay up for you, but it looks like Terry Wellman coming off of turn 4 gets into the wall and just ends up collecting Rick Scott as well as Thomas Peterson, and a number of these drivers taking some damage. I think also Layla Wilson might have been as well taking a shot from one of the flying cars. Actually, no, it was Lonnie Fitch. Lonnie Fitch taking a shot from one of the drivers getting turned around there. And Rick Scott, just an unfortunate bystander, takes the worst of it. Just some heavy damage to that race car. And I think he may, if he's already used his fast repair, that might be the end of the night for the 60 car.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. He did manage to make it to the halfway point at least, but really,
I'm going to cut you off real there quick for a second here. LeBronte and Howell to the pits.
Oh, well, what do you know? It's actually an interesting game plan that these drivers are making. Actually, multiple drivers to the pits as well. Troy Anderson, David Wilson, Thompson, Collins, Wallet, Layla Wilson, Wellman, Peterson, and Dowen to pit road, as well as Rick Scott.
And it's possible that these guys are coming down maybe to get tires. It's maybe they're feeling that the car is just a little bit too loose and they want some fresh rubber underneath them, or maybe they're just taking a little bit more fuel, thinking they can't quite make it to the end off of what they had. But it's going to be interesting to see the development of there was a number of drivers. It was LeBronte, Howell, and actually LeBronte's going to get off that the pit road first, so LeBronte's going to get ahead of Howell. Anderson came down, Wilson came down, Thompson, Wallet, and Wilson. So there was a number of drivers, but most of those drivers were further back in the field. The only drivers that were really towards the front that came down was LeBronte and Howell. So it's an interesting strategy to see play out here halfway through the race.
Yeah, really interesting, Kelly, because we'll throw Troy Anderson into that mix of guys from the front that came in. He was 5th at the time, but that's a bizarre call, I think, to come in and get probably tires and fuel. I guess tires must be the advantage they want, because they should have had at least, very close to enough fuel, if not good to go to the end. I think the only cars that would have been even close would have been the 969 and the 22 of LeBronte and Anderson. It's really interesting to me to see Howell come in, but we have seen Ashley Howell really use those tires up coming back through the field, so I think that could be an effect as well. It's not the coolest, but also not the hottest track out here in Phoenix, Arizona right now, so it could just be, coming in, getting the grip. We saw LeBronte starting to really slide out of each and every corner.
And it's possible that Mike Kelly might have taken tires earlier as well, because he was over a second back of the that front pack, and suddenly within about 2-3 laps, he was right on their bumper. So that 3 machine was absolutely flying around the racetrack. So they may have seen that and maybe gone, well, I guess we're gonna have to take tires, or else we're just gonna be sitting ducks against this guy. So it's also maybe possible that could have been a strategy as well. Okay, make it halfway through the race on these tires, come in, get some fresh tires, run those things to the end. So it's definitely an interesting thing to see. We'll have to see how fast they're going to be able to make their way through the field when we go back green. But I think the lights are out on the pace car, and we're going to get back to green flag racing here shortly.
Interesting call as it is, but like you mentioned, like you brought up, it is halfway, or at least just past halfway, 7 laps at this point. So I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest, on whether or not they would take tires. I would also take tires for at least halfway, because you're already used to how it would handle at the end of the run. In this case, pretty much at the end of the race for them. But now Josh Tanner, Mike Kelly, Robert Tarbox Jr., Carl Burke, and Eddie Hawks are top 5. We're going to be going green for the second half of the race.
Josh Tanner going to lead them down. He's got Mike Kelly to his outside. Green flag back in the air, and Tanner's going to take off. However, he is going to be followed by Mike Kelly, who gets a great jump. So Tanner not even going to clear Kelly. And as we go into turn 1, Kelly getting a great run on the outside. Tanner trying to hold with him to the outside. Bit of a wobble from both machines, but Mike Kelly's going to win this battle, and he's going to take control of the race lead as we go into turns 3.
Relatively single file is going to be quickly sorted throughout most of your field. Of course, it's just still anybody's game at this point. It's either at this point right now it is in control for Mike Kelly, but pretty much all over each other's back bumper is going to be the 84 and the 21. That's Josh Cannon, Robert Tarbox Jr. and move for 4th place Carl Burke on the high side of the receiving end of the 43 of Eddie Hawks, who's managed to make his way to at least 4th place tonight. Let's just hang on to the inside. I think Carl had a little bit of a wiggle coming out of turn number 4, but he still does keep it under control and still keeps it going forward.
As you guys were looking towards the front of the field, hopefully Cisco can follow me to the back real quick. On that restart, Troy Anderson had a huge moment through the dog leg, and I think Ashley Howell kind of produced that a little bit. Ashley Howell was going for a big move to the inside, and unfortunately something happened with the 22, and I think it was the 77 of Mike Golightly possibly. A couple of moments that could have been huge wrecks in the back while you guys were calling the front. And I'll tell you what, I was here just, literally chewing on my fingernails. I thought they were all going to wreck in the back.
Well, fortunately, all these drivers stay pointed the right direction, and we stay green. As Josh Tanner going to lose out a position to Robert Tarbox Jr. Tarbox moving himself up into the 2nd place, but he is half a second back, and now actually 6/10ths back from Mike Kelly, who is flying now that he's back out into the race lead. And that 3 machine, he is leaving nothing on his race car. He is trying to put as much down on this racetrack as possible. He isn't worried about conserving tires at this point. He's just trying to put down fast lap times.
Speaking of fast lap times, so far, I'm going to call out this time around, so far with that fast lap time, 26.234 was Mike Kelly. That's your leader. Ashley Howell falls in about 6th place in that scoring chart with a 26.509. So temporarily, as we have a battle between the 273 and the 16. Speaking of which, what do you know? As David Wilson is still trying to hang on to that 6th place position with Ashley Howell, and Ashley is making his way back up through the field once again. So it's going to be making his way by Brandon Whitworth in just a few moments, it seems. We're waiting on just a little more, but nonetheless, lap times are in a way just all over the place.
And to that battle between the 16, that's just 273, and now even the 377 of Brandon Whitworth as Howell works his way around the top side. I've been watching these guys, and I think Howell, obviously has that sheer speed we've seen all night, but I'm watching the 273, and that car almost looks more stable than the 16, leading me to believe that maybe the 16 is just getting its speed from wearing those tires out, and that could be why we saw the 16 and others come down the pit lane. It seems like to be fast, you have to be more on edge, which is, pretty much in line with what we see in most racing. You have to be on edge to be fast. Loose is fast, the old saying. So while the 273 is a lot more stable, you can see he's just not keeping up with Howell.
Here's also the thing, that with the weight jacker, as we mentioned, these cars are equipped with a weight jacker. They can adjust the car and tighten it up as those tires wear down. So Ashley can put down these fast lap times at this moment and just wear those tires down a little bit. And as that car starts to even get to the point where it's just a little bit too loose, just a couple clicks on that weight jacker will get it right back into a comfort zone. And you'll still lose a little bit of speed because you're not going to have as much grip, but that car's still going to stabilize just a little bit more, and you'll still be under control. As now Ashley Howell trying to go after Eddie Hawks for that 4th place.
Yeah, Eddie Hawks has fallen into that grasp of Ashley Howell's momentum. To the inside goes Howell. Nothing out of turn number 4 yet. Expect something heading into turn number 1. That's what it seems. He's actually going to head to the high side. It goes Ashley Howell. Interesting. He's going to dive it down to the bottom as Hawks is going to drift up. To the inside goes that 16 onto the dog leg using that rumble strip just a bit. Clears the 43 who backs out as well. And Hawks trying to just play it safe and make sure that he doesn't want any part of Ashley Howell's constantly gaining momentum, but still with that momentum. 26.306 versus Ashley Howell's 26.463, so about 10th faster as Mike Kelly that time around, but of course it's still going to take Howell. Howell still has a lot of time to get back up front.
And of course, we've been talking about Mike Kelly and Ashley Howell most of this race, or at least this run since halfway, as kind of the two top cars. Also want to focus on Todd Lebrani for just a second. He's mired back in traffic. I think this car will come alive in about 10-15 laps, though, so we could see Todd Lebrani work his way through the same traffic Ashley Howell just cleared. But, you know, in the meantime, Ashley Howell, I think, is in a great position to catch up to Mike Kelly. So this race is going to change complexion once again, guys. So I think a couple of cars are about to come alive and work their way back to the front.
Ashley Howell may be trying to catch Mike Kelly, but Mike Kelly is putting down some great lap times and has opened up a huge lead. He's currently sitting 1.2 seconds ahead of Tarbox and nearly 2 seconds ahead of Tanner in third place. So Mike Kelly has got a massive gap, and Ashley Howell currently sitting 3.5 seconds back. So Mike Kelly has just got an open racetrack available to him right now, and he's just using that to his full potential, putting down some fast lap times, just flying out there. I believe his last lap, I'm going to take a quick look here, last lap he just put down a 26.320, and when you compare that to like Robert Tarbox, he just put down a 26.479. So Mike Kelly just every lap putting another 10th down on these other drivers, and he's even gaining over Ashley Howell. So he may be putting down some quick laps, but you also have to wonder if it's really the right strategy to be putting down fast laps right now, because we could expect another caution. There's still over 70 laps left in this race. So I mean that lead could just be erased in a second with a car spinning around. And there's also the fact that if he's putting these fast laps down now, he might be wearing off those tires, and later on in the race when he needs those tires, he's just not going to have the grip. So it's a bit of a toss-up with the strategy that he's doing right now.
Yeah, it's again, like you said, just a toss-up in strategy. Something that's definitely going to be, again, just playing another factor into these closing laps as well. Actually, we're closing on these 75 laps to go, I believe. Only lap 124, so if I can actually count correctly, we are nearing that 75 lap to go point. Just this time around, 76 laps to go. And Mike Kelly for now is in the lead. Fastest lap this time around goes to Ashley Howell, 26.378. Yep, scratch that, 26.265. 2/10 faster than Mike Kelly, and about 3/10 faster than both Robert Tarbox and Josh Tanner, who's of course, well, Kelly's already caught up to these two. Expect Howell to finally make his way around both Josh Tanner and Tarbox Jr. in these next few laps.
Yeah, Ashley Howell just setting a pace of his own, and caution out of the back.
And I believe Riley Thompson is one of the drivers. Yes, he is. Coming out of turn number 4, it seems. Just went up a bit too high, got a piece of the wall, rode up onto it, goes up and over, flips about once, and luckily he does manage, and everyone else, everyone else manages to stay away from him. And of course, just really unfortunate for Thompson as well, as he was having a great run, top 10 earlier, about 9th place. Well, right now, again, just another strategy play. What do you do now?
Yeah, another thing Thompson is lucky to have is he was lucky to land on all 4 wheels. That'll keep him on the lead lap as he's able to just catch back up to the field, but he will have to come down and get that damage repair. That car has been beat up pretty badly, but as mentioned, this is what I was saying for Mike Kelly, why his strategy may not be that great is, yeah, he ran away from the field, but now everyone's back, and actually he's going to come down pit road as well as Tarbox Jr. and Tanner and a few others. So that's going to relinquish the lead back to Ashley Howell as Mike Kelly has come down pit road, I guess, to get fresh tires once more.
And this restart is going to be a lot of fun to watch, Kelly, because now Ashley Tarbaugh will be back in the lead. Ashley Howell. I don't know where I got Tarbaugh from. Ashley Howell will be on the lead. Eddie Hawks in second. And we're going to have Whitworth moving into third. Then we have Todd Labronte, Troy Anderson, a couple of spots behind him. Those guys all going to be on older tires, and you have a couple even behind Troy Anderson. I believe it'll be Mike Kelly probably out of the pits first, or at least close to it. We'll watch this battle out of the pit lane. But these guys are all going to have, the fresh tires, but have to work through 8 or 9 cars to get back into the lead battle, if at all. So, Mike Kelly, we've seen that car just fire off on all 8 cylinders really, really easily and really quickly. But it's going to be tough working through these guys who just pitted about, I think, 25 laps ago.
We did see him do this earlier on in the race. He was a bit further back in the field, sitting a couple seconds down, and then suddenly just got himself right into that battle for the lead. So I don't expect him to be pinned back there for too long, really, but it's really all going to depend on how well he can pick through the field. We've seen him be able to do it well, but is he going to be able to get lucky on those gaps again? Because, you could have a couple drivers decide to have a, side-by-side battle for 3 laps, and he might not have a gap to get through. So it's really just going to be if those opportunities are going to present themselves to him and if he's going to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. But Mike Kelly isn't really that far back in the field. He's only sitting back in 8th at the moment, and we know that car's got some speed behind it.
And some more problems for Thompson, unfortunately. Just a few issues, and well, he's going to have to rejoin the track, and hopefully this caution can stay on for him at least 1 lap longer. As more issues for Thompson. At least he did manage to keep it going, but unfortunately he did get throughput just a few moments ago. But right now, though, the biggest mover of the race is going to be Brendan Whitworth up to 3rd. Eddie Hawks in 2nd. First place is Ashley Howell once again. So Ashley is finally back in, for him at least, a spot that he definitely deserves to be in, because he wants to be there. He's been dominant for pretty much, again, just all heats most of the first half of the race, and this is his chance to get back up to the second half of the race and dominate this part as well. And maybe everybody's finally figured out when he's actually going to get going on the restarts.
But it's not just the restarts, it's you figure out where Ashley Howell is getting this speed, because he's been, every time he's been up in the front, he's just been dominating this race. It's taken a little bit for Ashley to get back onto the lead, but I don't think Ashley's actually ever been passed on track for the race lead. He's gotten a bit of pressure from Labronte a few times, but I don't think the pass has ever stuck yet. So we're going to have to see if anyone's figured out that 16 machine and how to get around him. But as we'll find that out very shortly, as the pace car is going to dive down pit road. Ashley's going to wait a few moments before getting on the throttle. That's going to check up Eddie Hawks there. He's going to get a terrible jump. Same with Brandon Whitworth as well. And look at those pink machines. Labronte and Anderson both trying to work together on that high side, and they are getting some speed. And here comes Mike Kelly right off the bat. He is firing off like a bullet out of a gun. That car has taken off.
Kelly's gotten an amazing start, almost a 3-wide moment. Troy Anderson is going to get back in line. And on the low side, it's going to be Brendan Whitworth trying to make his way around for that 4th place position. And a little bit of a stack up from Kelly, like you mentioned. Just having an amazing start from him as well, but a little bit of a protection, from that 4th place position was Troy Anderson when Kelly moved down to the inside. That could have been devastating, but I'm pretty sure that Kelly was already on top of that back bumper of Anderson.
Up ahead, Eddie Hawks in 2nd place, falling back a little bit from the 16. Todd Labronte, there we go, finally got it out. Going to go to work on him. You see Mike Kelly gets by the 22 of Troy Anderson. Mike Kelly pretty much had the go-ahead on that restart. The inside line cleared house and almost, aside from Brandon Whitworth, gave the spot to, or gave the opening, I guess, that Mike Kelly needed. He's already back into 4th place and has the best tires on the racetrack, at least in terms of, his top 5. So I don't see any reason he can't just work by these next 2 right in front of him as he closes right up on them, and then go to work on trying to catch this, the 16 and make the first pass on the 16 that anyone has all day.
Now we've got a three-way battle for second as Eddie Hawks tries to defend on the inside. Labronte getting a great launch on the high side, nearly getting into it and getting a bit of a wobble is Labronte, and here comes Mike Kelly as well going to the outside of Eddie Hawks. So Labronte takes control of second place. Hawks trying to hold on, but he's going to lose third place to Mike Kelly, and Mike Kelly now trying to see if he can get some. He's got actually a great run off of the turn 2. He's going to move to the inside of Labronte. So Mike Kelly wants second place. He's going to take it. He will clear Labronte, but Labronte counterattacking here, getting a great launch off of turn 4, and then he's just gonna keep his nose to the outside of Mike Kelly, but Mike Kelly now getting the preferred line through turns 1 and 2, but Labronte getting a bit of a crossover and keeping up the momentum.
Battle in the back between, again, with Troy Anderson and also Eddie Hawks. These two again are still battling somehow. That's for that 6th place position, and Anderson has the advantage coming out turn number 4, the run, and he'll take that 6th place position. And single file is what they will stay as, but the lead between Ashley Howell and Mike Kelly, or at least in this case for Ashley Howell, between Ashley Howell and second place is starting to look all too familiar. 1 second, about 1.1 seconds or so. It's, again, just fluctuating between that. And Kelly's actually closed the gap just a little bit. He's actually a 10th faster this time around. 2 tenths faster, I should say. 26.379, and the caution is on the track.
Oh, the leader, Howell. That was really close for Ashley Howell. Sorry to interrupt you, Gary, but Howell had a car coming down the dogleg right in front of him, and that was almost.
That's Carl Burke.
That was almost really, really bad for the 16.
I think the 16 might have clipped Burke.
Just a bit.
I have to say, it doesn't look like there's any damage to that 16 machine, but yeah, as you mentioned, that was extremely close. We're going to get a replay up for you, but see what happened to Carl Burke. That car is absolutely wrecked. But a very lucky moment for Ashley Howell to just not get involved in that wreck, as really there's some big problems for Carl Burke.
So what happened with Carl Burke, he was coming out of turn number 2. A little bit of help came from James Dowin that sent Carl Burke heavy to the inside wall. And then he's going to loop, he loops it back around, tries to get going as quick as possible, loops it onto the racetrack. And then tries to get going once again, loops it around again, this time gets the outside wall. And then the caution comes out just as, oh goodness, as Carl Burke was moving to the inside. That is, honestly, as a driver at least, Carl Burke should have just stayed up on the high side instead of trying to come back down. And now he wants to get going as quick as possible, but it's better to go a lot down than take out somebody else. As about 3, 4, 5 drivers to pit road as of right now. Ashley Howell is one of them. I think Ashley may have just a small piece of damage.
And really, Burke, as you mentioned, should have stayed still, and Burke should have known because he was facing the other direction. He knew Howell was coming. He knew where Howell was going, and yet he still decided to get on the throttle and try to spin that car around, nearly taking out our race leader. So Burke definitely should have kept that car planted and stayed where he was. Really just Howell very lucky to escape that with a clean car. And I think Howell might have just come down for, I don't know if it was for repairs, because it didn't look like there was any damage to that race car. But it could be possible that Howell just wanted to maybe some fresh tires on that machine for what could be this last run, as we're now getting down to 60 laps to go.
Well, Kelly, I think the 16 of Ashley Howell probably came down just to make sure, I think, for peace of mind, to come in, make sure everything was fine on that car, because you never know. You don't have the greatest visuals sometimes from the car, and the iRacing given spotter isn't always the greatest at giving damage information. So I think that was more of a move of paranoia. I mean, within good reason, obviously, to come in and make sure that car is good. But I mean, yeah, you guys, you hit the nail right on the head. And even, I took a stroll through the chat for just a second. That was a questionable move from the 53 to get back going as the field came by. Either way, he was going to go a lap down at that point. You have to wonder why he didn't just stay put. But thankfully, nobody gets any kind of negative effect from it, other than, Ashley Howell coming down the pit lane.
As mentioned, it could have been just a planned stop from Howell anyways, but I think the peace of mind is going to help with Howell. And if there was damage, I mean, I he should have the fast repair in his pocket still, so I don't think he's taking any other damage here tonight. So I mean, he could still come out with a fresh race car. But now we're gonna get the lights out on the pace car as Mike Kelly will lead the field with Robert Tarbox Jr. to his outside, Josh Tanner behind him to the inside, Brandon Whitworth will be in fourth, and Thomas Peterson will round out that top 5 for this next restart.
So Mike Kelly has returned to the lead once again for him. It's the second time today. And like you mentioned, Tarbox on the outside. I believe this is actually the highest position that he has been in all day. Once again, back in the top 5, Tarbox has been pretty much riding outside or just below the top 5, the top 10 for a majority of this race. Now he is finally back up, and I'm seeing Mike Kelly give the pace car a little bit more space than Howell has done. So maybe Kelly is already planning to go as quick as he can.
Pace car down and away. Mike Kelly hesitates for a moment before getting a great jump over Tarbox and Tanner. And he's going to easily clear both of them into turn number 1. And we're really going to kind of go single file for the top 3 easily. Brandon Whitworth, though, getting checked up on the outside as Thomas Peterson makes his way through on the inside. We've got a car on the wall, though. Looks like James Dowan nails the outside wall. A bit of a wobble as well for Layla Wilson as there is cars scattered all over the place in the back street.
Everyone trying to avoid everybody as well. I'm seeing a little bit of damage on Terry Wellman as well, but it's probably most likely from a prior accident. Back to single file for the most part. Battle for second between Robert Tarbox Jr. and Josh Tanner. Well, that battle for second is it's looming at the very least, and of course, I'll count Thomas Pearson and battle for 5th could also be looming between that 377 and the 273 of Whitworth and David Wilson. And Ashley Howell has just had the worst problem of the day.
Yeah, unfortunately, right even before that restart, we saw the 16 ended up disappearing, and just part of being on a simulator, the 16 is no longer in the field. Hopefully, Ashley Howell can get back into the race at least and try and salvage what he's got, but I don't think we'll be seeing that 16 battle for a win, unfortunately. Mike Kelly continues on, though. Robert Tarbox Jr. a little ways back of him. Josh Tanner trying to go to work, on the 21 car.
And that's really going to shift the favorite into the hands of Mike Kelly. That car has been dominant as well throughout the day and has just been launching off into these huge leads anytime he's been in the front of the field. And he's already opened 6/10 over Robert Tarbox Jr. And that lead's only going to grow if Josh Tanner's able to get up to Tarbox and those two decide to go side by side for a few laps. Is now Kelly getting another 1/10 of a second that lap there.
I'm looking at the lap time between this top 3 here. Like you said, the extra 10th. Well, you're right. 26.173 versus Tarbox's 0.227. Josh Tanner, however, has a 0.181 this time around. It's going to be interesting to see what the lap times clock in as. 26.1 even for Tarbox, 26.157, 0.176. That's for second and third respectively. So about 200ths faster, but still within the same 1/10 of a second. It's pretty much the entire top 3.
Yeah, the top 3 is running pretty identical lap times, all within about 700ths of a second. Then you kind of have a fall off to 4th place with Thomas Peterson and even David Wilson, a couple more 10ths slower in 5th. These guys are all still, running a pretty even race, at least with the drivers around them. A big moment there almost from the 705 and the 22. Jose Pabon just trying to maximize what he can do on exit of the corner. Troy Anderson trying to work by him, and those two almost made contact out of turn 2, Kelly.
They almost made contact going to turn 3 as well, as that battle is getting close between those two. They are completely even up going down the front straightaway, and it's going to come down to this corner here. And look at going way up the hill, Troy Anderson. He's trying to use that banking to his advantage, and he's still getting a great exit off of that corner. Just a little bit of an advantage to him, and he's going to maybe even clear Pabon on this corner. And Pabon getting underneath the yellow line, trying to see if he can get that car to turn it, but it's not going to be enough, as Troy Anderson's going to take away that 8th position and try to see what his teammate can do. Is Todd Labronte is going to go on the outside of Brandon Whitworth and try to see, then Labronte's trying to see if he can get himself into that 6th place.
150 laps down, 50 laps to go. It's going to be 49 to go this time around, as Whitworth is fighting back on that inside lane for that 6th place position. But with the advantage right now, as Whitworth gets really loose coming out turn number 4, he does keep it under control, almost bend it into the inside wall. That was a wild ride for Brendan Whitworth, and that 377 keeps it going. That is definitely how you save a race car right there.
Yeah, and Gary, most of the time you'll see somebody maybe overcorrect either to the right or the left when a car gets loose like that, but Brandon Whitworth knew exactly what to do, got that car back under control. He continues on, although a few positions further back. Ashley Howell is in the process of rejoining this race, albeit quite a few laps down, so we'll see if maybe he can make a few laps back. I think 10 laps down currently, and he'll add a couple more before he gets back out on the track. Tarbox Jr. right in front of Josh Tanner, hanging on to 2nd place. These guys about a second and a half behind Mike Kelly, our leader.
Yeah, real battle for 2nd place heating up between Tarbox and Tanner at the moment, and Tanner's just trying to see if he can find the line that he needs to run to get around Tarbox Jr. And he's had a couple of good runs off the corner, just not quite able to make a move. He's going to look to the outside this time as they go into turn 3. He is going to get his nose to the outside, and that's possibly a great chance for an opportunity or to make a pass. As it's going to prevent Tarbox from being able to get a better run off of the corner. So at the line, I think it was Tanner. It was Tanner just by a fraction of a second. And again, Tarbox having to check up just a little bit, just getting closed off by Tanner. So Tanner's going to take that second place. However, Mike Kelly is running away almost 2 seconds ahead of Josh Tanner now.
Kelly has an amazing lead right now. Of course, me being me, going to be comparing the lap times between at least the top 3 of these drivers. Well, the fastest driver is not even in the top 3 that time around. It was Eddie Hawks. But the fastest driver of the top 3, though, was, again, Mike Kelly, as he is in the lead, 1/10 faster than Josh Tanner and 3/10 faster than Tarbox after that little mishap that Tarbox had. But he's still hanging on. Caution is out once again, and that is Mike Golightly in the 77. He's facing the wrong way on turns 3 and 4. Looks like the car was just spinning out. Yeah, he just lost it in turns 3 and 4. Luckily, doesn't hit anything. Nobody hits him. And he's still sitting there as well. He's going to wait for that right moment to go back around.
Yeah, we're going to get a replay up for you at the moment. And there's that Mike Golightly is still parked in that position. And now that car is going to be removed from the racetrack. But I do not know what happened to... Actually, no, Mike is still parked there.
Guys, I think there was a technical issue on the 77, because if we watch the replay here in turn 4, all 4 tires just lock up and he turns, and I don't think that was any mistake on Golightly's part. I think that's a technical failure in the 77. Something just went wrong.
Yeah, something must have broke on his end, because that car suddenly went around. It wasn't... You're pretty correct on that. It wasn't like the normal slides we have where they slowly develop as that car gets loose. That car just suddenly just snapped around, and that's just what happens when you lock the tires on this thing. It's almost like a dirt car where it's a bit more biased towards trying to rotate the car. Is we're getting word now is he had both his brake and his throttle stuck, so something's gone wrong with the pedals of that 77 machine, and that's going to end his night, as he's going to have to try to figure out what broke in his setup that caused his car to go around like that.
In fact, yeah, I think I know what happened as well. I think there was some disconnect between his vehicle and his pedals, so, or at least his wheel and pedals, depending on whatever he uses. But if his throttle and brake were both stuck and they were unresponsive, then in that case, there's definitely some issue with his pedals. They just completely locked up all of the tires, like you mentioned. So he just, I'm pretty sure the reason he was still sitting there, he tried to actually get it back going, but he couldn't because his pedals were completely unresponsive.
Yeah, that's really just an unfortunate situation for that 77 machine. Luckily, he doesn't take anyone with him, and really someone that was not wanting to see that caution come out was the 3 of Mike Kelly, as he was really just off in his own world there, almost 2 seconds ahead of 2nd place Josh Tanner. But now he's going to get grouped right back up with the rest of these drivers, and we'll have to see if anyone's going to really take advantage of this to take a shot at that 3 machine. But really, that 3 machine has just been untouchable in this second half of this race tonight, and we'll just have to see what he's really got left in the tank for him.
Yeah, and at this point, there's almost zero chance of Ashley Howell getting a wave around, and 15 laps down anyways, it's not going to happen. So take the 16 out of the equation. It was really the 3 and the 969 of Todd Lebrani who were the dominant cars all day today, and Todd Lebrani's mired back in traffic a little bit, doesn't have the greatest car at this point in the race anymore, so, I mean, you're just left with the 3 car, the Texaco Haviland number 3 of Mike Kelly, and that's what you've got up front. He's been leading all these laps, pretty much the second half of the race, and, you know, while Josh Tanner has been right there with him, or at least trying to be right there with him, there's no competition right now, it seems like, for the 3 of Mike Kelly, but this restart could shift things, and I want to shout out real quickly the 956, Thomas Peterson, just out of nowhere, doing a really good job in 4th place.
Thomas Peterson started the race in 21st. He has worked his way up into 4th place, as you mentioned. Definitely our biggest mover of the night so far. And it's possible that he may have a shot at winning this. He's gotten himself into the position. He just has to see if he can figure out where the grip is on this racetrack and what he can do to his race car to be able to go after Mike Kelly. And that's also what's probably going through the mind of Tanner and Tarbox as well, is what can we do to go after this 3 machine? Where is he getting all this speed? Where is he finding this grip? What can we do to take him down? But we're gonna have to see what's gonna happen on this next restart. Kelly laying way back from the pace car. Pace car down pit road. Kelly's gonna wait for a moment before launching once again, and again a great launch from him. He's gonna take off. Tanner having big problems on his restart there. Tarbox Jr. is gonna get even up with him, and they're gonna go side by side through turns 1 and 2. The winner, though, is going to be to the outside, at least for the moment. Josh Tanner going to get his nose ahead, and he's going to get himself clear, as now it's really starting to seem like the outside is the line where you want to be on if you want to make a pass on this racetrack.
That's definitely coming to example from Troy Anderson. He's going to make his way by David Wilson. And here comes Jose Pabon as well on the high side. I think Wilson is having a little bit of momentum issues, or he's just unfortunate being that low lane like you did mention. So everyone, again, just relatively single file right now, and Mike Kelly is once again back in that lead, and he's already started that distance as well, 0.3, 0.4 or so seconds. And that battle for 2nd place, however, is going to be starting to heat up.
Yeah, Josh Tanner right now leading Robert Tarbox in 2nd and 3rd, respectively. Those guys just kind of trying to hang on and work maybe at the 3 car of Mike Kelly. Further back, we've got the 956. Thomas Peterson gave him a quick shout out. He's right now trying to hang on to that 4th spot just ahead of Lebrani. Anderson right behind him. Jose Pabon in the 7th position. Then you get back to David Wilson, Eddie Hawks. These guys are really sideways coming out of these corners, leaning on those right rears. And tell you what, they are just having some good racing in the back. You see the 943 making a move. That's Layla Wilson. Gets down to the inside, looking to the inside of Whitworth.
Back up front, though, a battle for 2nd is starting to heat up between Tanner and Tarbox once again, as Tarbox is slowly getting closer and closer to the back end of that 84 machine, and as they're just trying to keep up as much speed as they can to keep up with Mike Kelly. But Kelly is starting to open up that gap as he's trying to build that lead that he had on that last green flag run, and we have to wonder how much is left on the tires of that 3 machine, but he's showing absolutely no sign of slowing down or no sign of even losing control of that race car.
He's had amazing performance, pretty much the 2nd fastest out of between he and Ashley Howell, as I believe Kelly's running 2nd for a majority of this race and majority of the first half of the race. Well, now he's running in 1st. This time around, again, just basically equal lap times, 26.2 across all the top 3 of these drivers. And then the follow-up begins about 4th place on back with 26.3. Again, just coming out turn number 4. Tarbox is a little bit of a wiggle, it looked like, coming out turn 4. So again, that's just another thing to pay attention to, is Tarbox is still closing that gap about 1/10 or so faster, half a 10th I should say, so 0.05 of a second faster it seems than Josh Tanner. So slowly closing the gap, or quickly in this case, as he's going to get almost pretty much right up against that back bumper. It's going to be Josh Tanner and Tarbox Jr.
Yeah, Tarbox right now trying to close that 3 car length gap thereabouts to the 84 car, and of course the 84 of Josh Tanner trying to manage that gap, wants to keep that gap behind him to the 21 for obvious reasons, as he can try to maybe work on figuring out what Kelly is doing ahead of him, maybe try and shift that car in the right way. It's not working out though. Here comes Tarbox Jr. looking to the bottom side, can't get it done in 3 and 4. We'll see if he can get momentum out of turn 2 again to maybe make another run at him in turn 3.
And there's not much separating Tanner and Tarbox, as Kelly is really starting to take off at the moment, and there's quite a big gap behind Tarbox as well, back towards where Peterson is running at the moment. Nearly 7/10 of a second between those, the 3rd and 4th place. So really all that Tanner and Tarbox have to focus on are each other at this moment, as both in front and behind them have pretty much gone out of touch at this moment.
Yeah, it's pretty much just those two in their own little world right now. As it looked like Tanner went a little bit wide. Again, the laps quickly but slowly yet quickly closing in this time around for Kelly. It's going to be 30 laps to go once they cross the start-finish line. 30 more laps to see if anybody can do anything for their own respective positions right now. And faster that time around was, again, still Kelly. Nope, scratch for that. Thomas Peterson, who's actually trying to catch up to Tarbox just ever so slightly, about 10th faster than both these front 2 runners.
Yeah, Gary, the 956 starting to come alive. We talked about him a little bit since that last restart, and this guy, Thomas Peterson, again, like Kelly mentioned, from 21st to 4th now, just doing a great job of keeping that car in one piece all race long, and now might have the car to go up there and possibly race into 2nd, maybe even 1st place. Looking like that car is finally coming alive now that we're within the last 30, almost now in the last 25 laps of the race.
Yeah, but we'll have to see what Peterson can do to catch up to this group, as it is quite a bit of a gap that he's got to these other 3 drivers. And if we saw the last restart, he just didn't quite have it on the start, but the car kind of came into him as the run kept going. But I don't know if he's going to have enough time to really catch up to everyone else, as he may be the fastest driver on the racetrack, but at the moment he just doesn't have the track position.
Yeah, as unfortunate as it is, of course, it's still 20... Goodness, my mind just blacked out. 22 laps to go, 21 next time around. I can definitely count laps, as Rick Scott is finally making his way out of pit road right now after a long time in pit road, actually, I believe. He's slowly creeping out. The back up front still going to be Kelly and Tanner, Tarbox. Peterson is trying everything that he can do to get up, but again, it's just about even between these two. Or these 3, I should say.
Yeah, the top 3, the top 4 running pretty darn close in terms of lap times. Even 5th place Troy Anderson in that neighborhood as well. And then you start to fall off as you go back to 6th, 7th, and onward. But as these guys come around to take 25 laps to go, Mike Kelly still has a pretty commanding lead, but Josh Tanner, I think, is starting to make some dents in that. I think we're seeing that 84 come alive.
And as we get closer and closer to the end of this race, we'd like to give a quick thank you to the sponsor of tonight's Atlantic Majors race, and that is Lion Tamer Beard Care. Go check them out on Facebook or Twitter at Lion Tamer Beard. Mike Kelly continues to lead this race, 6/10 over Josh Tanner right now, but Josh Tanner, he has got his mirror full of the 21 machine of Robert Tarbox, who's just been hounding him for this last, I would say, about 20 laps. That car has just been, they've just been going after each other, and really as they try to battle each other, try to catch each other, Mike Kelly is just kind of running away from them.
Yeah, Kelly's just, I think if he wants to, he can relax right now, because these two are definitely going to be battling it out if they can't reach Kelly in time. And Peterson could be lurking if something happens between both Josh Tanner and Robert Tarbox. These two have been running pretty much the same position ever since the restart we've had about 10 or 15 or so laps ago.
I think the 956 of Thomas Peterson starting to go back away, but now Robert Tarbox Jr., his car is starting to come alive, almost got to the left rear of Josh Tanner through 3 and 4 that time by, coming to, I believe, 22 laps to go here now, 178 in the books. And Robert Tarbox, I think, is right there. And, you know, at first I thought maybe Josh Tanner would be able to go up there and run Mike Kelly down, but I think as soon as Kelly started to notice the 84 pickup speed, he pulled back away, and I think the 84 started to go away as well. So Robert Tarbox Jr. now one of the fastest cars on track.
Yeah, he is all over Josh Tanner at the moment, but neither of them really are gaining an advantage on one another. They're just continuing to match each other's pace and match each other's lines. So Tarbox has got to figure out where he can go to get an advantage on Tanner at the moment. But really, he's gone up the racetrack, he's gone down the racetrack. That time he's trying to go see if he can just get a bit of a better run, just being a bit inside of him. But it looks like where the grip is now, it looks like that inside line is heated up a little bit. So maybe where that better line is that middle line. And looks like that's what Tanner's running, and it seems to be working out for him at the moment.
Yeah, a little bit of an advantage coming out of turn number 2 for Josh Tanner. 20 laps to go, 19 once we cross the line. Robert is getting that, at least the entry speed, just great in turn 3, but every time he has to back off in the middle of the corner, that gives Tanner the advantage once again. But right now that gap is close to about 2-3 car lengths or so. Running a little bit of a lower line that time around was Tarbox. And still, again, basically just equal times between these two. 0.362, 0.397, 0.416. Now is your top 3 last time around at the start-finish line. And Tarbox is closer than he was a couple laps ago. Tanner looks like he had to avoid the wall a little bit. Maybe he's gotten loose. Pretty much on the back bumper is going to be Robert.
Yeah, Tarbox Jr. has been working that bottom side for quite a few laps here now. As Kelly mentioned, it looks like maybe that bottom line is starting to go away. He's going to make a move here into 3 and 4. Will actually clear him by a mile. Josh Tanner going to fall back into 3rd position. Robert Tarbox Jr. now into 2nd, but here comes the 84 looking to the inside. Won't make anything happen. Now the 21 into 2nd. He is now the lead car as far as trying to catch up to Mike Kelly. But I wanted to mention, you know, these tires have to be durable for, you know, maybe 90 to 100 and something laps. So obviously they have to be a pretty hard and durable compound. And we see with a lot of repaves, and granted this is not a repave by any means, this is a very old track surface these guys are racing on, but when you bring a hard tire to a racetrack, you sometimes can't use the left sides like you might want to. So that could be playing into the top line working a little better, or I should say the middle line working a little better than the bottom, in that there's just less left side grip on the bottom side.
Here comes Josh Tanner, though, trying to get that 2nd place right back, all over that rear bumper of Tarbox Jr., but that time Tanner has to back out, take a little bit of a step back before going after him again. Actually getting a great run off of turn 4 there, but again, not quite getting up enough to Tarbox. And Tarbox has got figured out that inside line. He's made that, probably just made an adjustment to his weight jacker and helped him out. But there was a bit of a wobble off of turn 2 that time, but he's going to close the door on Tanner, who's trying to see if he could find a way to capitalize on that mistake by Tarbox. As we're under 15 to go, going to be 14 this time by, and they are just going to leave it all on the racetrack. They know that this is the end, coming down to the end of the race, so they're not going to give each other room anymore. It is now just going to be a fight to the finish.
I can understand getting loose exiting the corner, but through the dog leg, that's a bit interesting. Like you said, maybe he's messing with a weight jacker just a little bit, trying to experiment as quick as possible to find some way that he can catch up to Mike Kelly. But right now, that's just not even close to being the case. Lap times between all 3 of these drivers, 0.494, 0.442, 0.532. Again, 1st through 3rd. As your lap time fastest, that was actually Troy Anderson with a 4:10. But right now, the fastest out of at least these two, as we have a battle between the 35 and the 43. Looks like Rory Collins, that's going to be for that 9th place position. Jason Wallet on the high side in that 658.
Jason Wallet had a great run to get into this race in the first place. He started dead last in this race, but he's worked his way now into the top 10. Did lose that spot to Rory Collins. Rory Collins is in the 35. Looks to maybe have a slightly better car on corner entry, and I think that's what got him by the 356 or 658. I don't know where I got 356, but the 658 still looking pretty stout on the top side. Obviously a big gain for him to go from 22nd to 10th.
Yeah, but Rory Collins has found that grip just launched by Jason Wallet. Now that he's by Jason Wallet, he has opened up a bit of a gap. So Rory Collins has got a bit of speed underneath of him, got a good race car, but I don't know if he's got the time to be able to try to go after David Wilson. So 9th might be the best he can really hope for. Is now we're getting to 10 laps to go. Looking back up front, Mike Kelly is nearly 2 seconds ahead of Robert Tarbox Jr. So Kelly has checked out at this point. He is gone on this, as just like every other time he has led this race. He has rocketed off to a huge lead, and really at this point he can just try to kind of cruise for these next 9 laps.
Yeah, at this point he can just completely relax right now. As like I mentioned, that 2-second lead, and again, fastest lap fluctuating around, and again, another 4:10 by Tyler Bronte this time. That battle for second is still slowly starting to fade, it seems, though, as Tarbox was about, well, pretty much equal. 5 thousandths faster that time around was Tarbox, and it's slowly starting to show on the track, and I think Tanner went just a little bit wide coming up to number 4. That's going to create a sizable gap as well.
Further back, a battle starting to shape up for, it looks like, the 6th position. This would be Jose Pabon trying to work up to the 22 of Troy Anderson. Can't make anything work, but he's certainly looking in that Napa Auto Care number 705. Definitely at least trying to get that 6th spot.
Yeah, he's all over the rear end of that hot pink machine of Troy Anderson, and he's trying to see if he can try to get at least one more spot before this race is through. We're at 7 laps to go, and there is not much time left, and Jose definitely knows that. He's trying to see where that gap is, but Troy Anderson just holding a great line. Oh, Pabon getting way down onto the racetrack, actually pretty much putting all 4 tires on that rumble strip on the inside of the dog leg there, as he was trying to just shorten that dog leg as much as possible.
I think you got a piece of the grass too, just a little bit with those left sides, and he's still trying to figure out what the perfect line is for himself, or at least to compare himself and get by Troy Anderson. But right now that's also starting to lose its own little effect. So back up front, it's going to be 5 laps to go. Mike Kelly in first, second Tarbox, third Tanner, fourth Peterson, and fifth is going to be Tyler Bronte. And we go back to once again 6th and 7th. It's going to be Anderson and Pabon. Just seems like Troy Anderson is going to be taking that 6th place position already.
Yeah, Troy Anderson, I think, is going to hang on to that spot ahead of the 705 relatively easily. At this point in the run, these guys are on really old tires, and a lot less fuel than you might start out with for a short run, so these cars might not be handling quite as they were earlier on. Granted, you have the weight jacker to try and mess with that, try and fix it a little bit, but I think these guys are going to start fading, everyone. So I don't think we're going to see too many more battles to the end of this race. I think most of the field is going to stay pretty well spread out. The closest racing I see is Whitworth and Wilson, and even that's a bit of a stretch.
And really, it's more that these cars are starting to almost look like they're getting tight because of how they've adjusted the weight jacker to counteract the rear end wearing off. So it seems now that these cars are getting more tight than they are loose around this racetrack, and everyone's just kind of struggling for grip, especially since we've had such a long green flag run. It's going to heat up that racing surface quite a bit, and looks like Pabon has actually backed off of Troy Anderson. He's way back there, and the same thing has kind of happened between Tarbox and Tanner as we got 2 to go.
2 laps to go, and Mike Kelly has 8 more corners. Well, in this case, 6 more corners to go. I believe 7 or 8 if you do count that dogleg being a corner. But Kelly making his way through turns 3 and 4. The battle for second place has finally sorted itself out with a pass with about 20 or so laps to go from Robert Tarbox. White flag for Mike Kelly. 2 more corners remain once he exits turn 2.
And Mike Kelly has just commanded the second half of this race. That 3 car has been hooked up, and he's going to come around turns 3 and 4 to win this thing.
Yeah, Mike Kelly, he didn't start up in the lead, started in 3rd after winning his heat. As every time he's been in the front, he's been dominating, and Mike Kelly will win this race here tonight, and he is going to absolutely dominate the Copper World Classic, and that is just a huge win for that 3 machine. Just 2.6 seconds was the margin of victory over Robert Tarbox. So just some fantastic driving from Mike Kelly to win this race.
Congratulations to Mike Kelly, as he's going to come home the winner of this race. It's definitely an amazing job, especially it definitely would have been an even more interesting race as well if Ashley Howell didn't have those problems, but unfortunately he did. So Mike Kelly comes home as the second fastest driver out of both he and Ashley Howell, and he will attempt to do burnouts here on the front straightaway.
Yeah, so our winner for tonight's race is going to be Mike Kelly. Robert Tarbox Jr. comes home in second. Josh Tanner finishes in third. Thomas Peterson, just a fantastic run from Thomas Peterson. We really didn't talk about him enough. We were starting from 21st, getting all the way up into 4th. Rounding our top 5, a car we did talk about quite a bit throughout the night. The 969 of Tom Labronte started in 2nd, finishes in 5th, rounding out our top 5.
Finishing in 6th is going to be Troy Anderson, just where he started. Jose Pabron finishes in 7th. David Wilson Jr., Rory Collins, and Jason Wallet round out your top 10.
Following Jason Wallet will be Eddie Hawks in 11th in the number 43 car. Layla Wilson comes home in 12th. Brandon Whitworth in 13th. Lonnie Fitch hangs on to 14th spot. And James Doan, unfortunately, comes home in 15th. Looked to have a promising car.
Terry Wellman will be the last car to finish on the lead lap in 16th. 17th will be Carl Burke. Riley Thompson finishes 18th. Mike Golightly 19th. Ashley Howell finishes in 20th. Rick Scott 21st. And rounding out our 22 car field is Aaron Brown. So Mike Kelly, just a dominating race for him, and hopefully we'll be able to talk to him as well as the other top drivers of the top 3 right after this. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Copper World Classic for the Atlantic Major Series on LSRTV.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSRTV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Live Sim Racing LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSRTV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.
Welcome back to the LSRTV post-race show for the Copper World Classic, and I'm going to be catching up here with Mike Kelly. Just an absolutely dominating performance from start to finish. He is the winner of tonight's race, so catching up with him in the Phoenix Victory Circle. Going to get him up here for a second here. Mike, really just one word to describe your race here tonight was just dominating. You really were just jumping out into some massive leads, but where were you finding this the speed on this racetrack?
Well, you know, I guess probably. Oh, thanks, by the way. I mean, what an awesome race by everybody, and I didn't feel like it was dominating, but thanks a lot. You know, Wayno gave a good setup for a lot of us to use, and I used it and tweaked on it here and there, and I've just got a lot of experience driving this track. You know, this particular track before the new one came out. Back in the day, ran lots and lots and lots of laps here. So the car was on a rail, and I just stayed focused, and unfortunately Ashley got booted out. I don't know if I had the car to beat, to be honest, but my pit strategy worked perfectly. It was just one of those races, and everything worked out great. No yellows at the end, and cruised it home to victory.
And speaking of that pit strategy, we saw a lot of people really come down pit road at different times, but what was your strategy throughout the night, and was it really one that you set up before the race started and just stuck with it, or did you just kind of make it up on the fly as you were going along?
My strategy from testing, you know, the tire wear is almost nothing, and real good longevity, can still run really fast times way deep into the run. So I just, you know, track position's the thing, and I wasn't going to pit until I got into my window, you know, 100 to 120 laps left to go. I was going to pit and be done with it. But then the way the other guys were pitting and the way the yellows flew, I ducked in again and got fresh tires with about 75 or whatever it was to go, and that gave me a real strong car to run to the end with. That may have been the difference.
Well, you are currently going into this race, actually. You were the leader in the point standings for the Atlantic Pro Division. But now going forward, next we're going to be, a few weeks from now, going to be in COTA for the Sports Car Showdown. How do you feel going in towards that race with the points lead that you may have at the moment?
Yeah, I'm thrilled to death. I've had a 5th and a 2nd and a 1st in these first 3 runs, and my goal is always to just try to finish, and I'm a points racer, so that's what I'm trying to do, and it's gone fantastic these first 3 races. But I'm really looking forward to COTA. Love that track. Got some good experience there. I think I'm going to drive the Vet, but I'm not sure. It's still up in the air what I'm going to drive, but definitely looking forward to it, and definitely think I can got a good chance to run up front and hold on to the points lead.
Well, before we let you go there, Mike, we're going to give you the floor, give you the microphone, allow you to give any thanks or shout-outs to whoever helped you get it done here tonight.
Yeah, shout out to Ashley again. That was a bummer about that disconnect. Had a good car. Shout out to my teammates, Lonnie and Terry. They made the pro race, had a good run. Finished it, didn't tear up the cars, so good job to them. J&S Motorsports, I believe we're leading the team points as well. So, and definitely thanks to you guys and to Mike and everybody at Pacific Majors. It's been a blast so far. Look forward to the next race.
All right, well, thank you very much, Mike, for stopping and talk to us. Hopefully in a few weeks' time, we'll see you here in the booth once again after you've maybe get another good finish at COTA.
That'd be awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right, so that was Mike Kelly, our winner here for the Copper World Classic. But now I'm going to send it over to Gary Weaver, who I believe is caught up with our second place finisher tonight, Robert Tarbox.
Well, Robert, not Robert.
Hey, Gary.
Well, you did manage to, just in about the final 20 or so laps, you managed to get around Josh Tanner, but you, Tanner, and Kelly were all pretty much, and a few of the top 5 as well, actually, were managing to run basically identical lap times. So I'm pretty sure this that final half of the race was definitely really interesting to go about, especially with the tire wear playing into effect and that long green flag run we had.
Yeah, I honestly didn't have a lot of time to look at the lap times, but yeah, I came into the pits like about 7 minutes ago, and I said I'm going to take these tires to the end, and that seemed to be. I think Mike did the same thing, and I think Josh did the same thing, and we started back, you know, about mid-pack. I think it was like 14th or something like that, and just the car was just on a rails. Like it lightened up enough, but we had decent tires on it that I could just throw that car anywhere I wanted to, and it was doing everything I wanted to. And yeah, I started with Wayne Hutchinson's set that he put on the forums, and then I dropped the rear springs to kind of plant the rear a little bit better, and it was just on rails. So shout out to Wayne for supplying those sets.
Well, I can definitely go straight into what we have next for you, of course. Definitely exciting race, and you also managed to, I believe, avoid most wrecks unless you did manage to get into one. Of course, you did have that fast repair in the back of your pocket just in case you did have to use it. So, of course, any sponsors, any shout-outs, friends, or family that you'd like to go ahead and say since you finished in second?
Yeah, going back to that wreck, I mean, that's what I said in the race was, it was about 120 to go, and I was just I was happy that I had that fast repaired. I still had time to get back up there and do what I did, because I want to say to everybody that raced in that race, that was probably the most fun I've had in at least a year on iRacing. That race was phenomenal. I'll give a shout out to Wayne again for the setups. Shout out to my old RKRS crew, Layla, Tom, Mike, Joe. If you guys are listening, thanks for putting up with me. So yeah, I just had a lot of fun here. Don't have any sponsors, but hopefully one day.
Considering that you finished in second, I'm pretty sure that you would definitely get their attention, because that was an amazing performance tonight as well.
No, thank you very much. That was probably, like I said, it was the most fun I've ever had. Well, I wouldn't say ever had, but it was in a long time. And yeah, I don't get to race this car much, but my God, this car always delivers. So thanks for the broadcast, and thanks to the major series and everything else. This was fun. I'm going to be back for more major series.
Well, we hope to see you once again, this time just one position higher, and that's definitely going to play off as well. So congratulations on our second place finish. We're going to go ahead and let you go.
Thank you.
And that was the second place finisher of Robert Tarbox Jr., and Andrew has finally caught up with third place finisher Josh Tanner.
Well, Josh Tanner, do you have a copy?
Got you loud and clear.
Josh, that was a heck of a last run from you. Really, the whole second half of the race, it was a great run for all of the top three. But tell us about running in that number 84, trying to battle with Tarbox Jr. You ended up losing second place, but you still gave it a heck of a run. Tell us all about that second half.
Yeah, honestly, coming into the week, I was going to be pretty happy with getting a top 10 because I didn't even own the car up until yesterday. So I'd say all in all, I'm pretty happy with the finish. Yeah, it was fun racing with Robert. It was fun racing with everybody out there. I had a lot of good races with a lot of people. Didn't really have anything for the 3 or the 16. So, kind of had some good luck go my way in order to come home third. But I'm pretty excited. It was fun. It's a fun little car.
Yeah, well, you certainly looked like you had that car for a lot more than just a couple of days. These cars are really challenging. We saw all of you guys really sliding around, especially the latter stages of this Copper World Classic. Tell us about trying to battle the car, trying to come out of the corner, and the back end just wanting to go around.
Yeah, the worst part about it is you don't know it's going to happen until you're already mid-slide. So it makes driving it that much more of a challenge. Having that weight jacker is a big help. I think I ended up going from 0 to +5 by the end of that last run, about 80 laps on the same fuel and tires. But it's a fun car. I love it.
Yeah, and actually that takes me right to my next point. We talked about the weight jacker in these cars a lot tonight, considering that was really the only adjustable thing aside from the brake bias in these Silver Crown machines. Obviously 58-gallon tanks, that's a lot of weight to start a run out with. As you worked through a run and lost all that weight in the rear, what did you guys have to do with that weight jacker?
I found myself probably about every 20 laps or so going up one click on the weight jacker just to kind of keep it stable coming out of the corner. And it only did so much. You still had to use a lot of patience on the throttle, but who knows where we would have been without that. I don't know how many cautions we had, but we probably could have doubled it if it wasn't for the being able to utilize that weight jacker.
Well, you certainly made pretty good use of it. Obviously, third place in a race that we had, it was so even among a bunch of you guys. It sounds like a lot of you guys may have used similar setups at the very least. So definitely congratulations to you getting third place and just having a great run. I'll turn the mic over to you pretty much now to just tell us all about any sponsors that you have supporting you.
No sponsors, but I'm definitely open to some if some are watching and want to notify me. But thanks to you guys for putting on a great broadcast. Thanks to the majors for all these fun events and all these great drivers that we have. It's a real pleasure to run around all these great drivers.
Well, it was a pleasure for us to watch that race unfold. 200 laps in the Phoenix Desert. You did a great job, and since you don't have any sponsors, man, hopefully you can get some in the near future.
Appreciate it, guys.
Well, that was all of your top 3 finishers there tonight, and really this was a long race, 200 laps, and it was a car that we don't really see too much in the iRacing service. It's not raced too much. It has just a very small but dedicated community behind it on the forums, but honestly, I think it's almost criminal that this car is so underused, because just from a spectator's point of view, this was a fantastic race, and I thought it was just a ton of fun. And Gary, I'm just going to send it to you for a few final thoughts.
Well, like you mentioned, this car is definitely, as I would say, what was it, underrated, I'd say, because it's definitely, I've never really seen this car. I have taken it for at least a test run at least once or twice, and it was really fun. So it's actually just honestly, well, pretty much, it's actually just really fun. It's something that I've never actually raced before, and it's quite interesting, and definitely worth something to try out a lot more often.
Yeah, it was definitely a blast to watch, and I'm really looking forward to the next Majors Series race, because these guys always put on a great show, and it's always something different as well. So if you wanted to check out what's coming up, just go take a look at the PacificMajors.com. But Andrew, I'm going to throw it to you for some final thoughts as well.
Well, Kelly, Gary, I gotta agree with you guys that, you know, that car really should be used more. It's almost a shame to see it used so infrequently, because it really put on a great event tonight from the Phoenix International Raceway. I thought that was some of the best racing I've seen on the sim in a while. You could get side by side, you could make big moves, big slide jobs, big crossovers without really worrying about just completely throwing somebody into the wall. Obviously, you couldn't be too aggressive. You couldn't, you know, really make too much contact, but as long as you kept off of another car, you could really do anything you wanted, and that was a lot of fun for my LSRTV debut.
Well, that's going to just about do it here tonight for us at the Copper World Classic from the Phoenix International Raceway, but I'm sure, as we've all said, we had a ton of fun. So on behalf of myself, Gary Weaver, and Andrew, as well as Cisco Scaramuza and everyone else at LSRTV, Evan Pasoka, DJ Lyon, and Laura Lawson, we'd like to thank you so much for coming out and watching this race with us, and hopefully we'll see you again in a few weeks for the next Pacific Majors race.